Hey, everybody, it is your good friend Dr. David Broden from down here in the North Star recording studio. And holy smokes, apparently my Brio camera wants me to connect a device. You know what I have to say about that? Not happening. Um, all right. So let me maneuver the camera a little bit. I can't believe that actually worked. All right, here we go. Look at this. I hope everybody is having a good day. Um, so here's what is on deck for us. We are looking at some severe weather coming in tomorrow. So we are working. Um, we worked kind of through the day and got our Christmas stuff up that we're going to put outdoors. And so, so one thing here. Hey, it's Jim. Hey, buddy. I am. I'm trying to. Whoa! I just muted myself by accident. When I do a live here through um, Google from YouTube, right? I don't have any lights on right now and stuff like that, but I have noticed I can't check the mic and I can't check the well, obviously the cam. I only have one camera, so it's not that. Look at this, Misty. Hey, you were just reading my book. Awesome. Is it David or Dave? Yeah, it's David. Um, when I was younger, I used to do Dave, but I pretty much do David now. Um, so we are like 70 degrees, and it's going to be warmer tomorrow, which is significantly above normal. Plus, it's humid outside. So, literally, like short sleeve weather. And then we have severe storms anticipated to come through tomorrow, starting around noon, running till maybe 7 at night. We're kind of on the fringe line between like bad and very bad. So, we'll see what happens. But as far as like bad and very bad, it's mostly like wind and so not like a real big thing here, but there could be some small tornadoes, and so we'll see. But we are putting out all the outside decorations tomorrow. I have these four metal deer, and you can see one of them is the show thumbnail. I can't go and bring it in right now, but yeah, so it's pretty. They're really heavy. I have had them for like 20 years, and the heads used to move up and down and side to side. None of that stuff works anymore, but they still look pretty good. And if you get them out early enough in the season, while it's warm, the turf is still warm. You can spike them down pretty easily and maneuver the cords. Like one of the worst things is you didn't do the outside decorating ahead of time, and now it's like 25 degrees and windy. So like every extension cord just it just fights you. I mean, they're not pliable and cold, and it sucks. And so yeah, and I can't bring any of your messages up on the screen because I'm using the YouTube um, version right now. I'm not using StreamYard. But hey, Jim. Hey, All Pro Lemonton. Misty, Mrs. Wayne. So yeah, want to give you guys a shout. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we have the Legal Man is going to be on, and then Monday night we have Lisa Lenny is going to be the guest on the show. So we have two attorneys back to back, and then we have so the Legal Man, citizens arrest, overreach of government. It's a great show, guys. Pure energy, the Quash. You're going to love it. And then Monday night, Lisa Lenny, the Law of Necessity. What if you have to like trespass in order to save John Wayne or Ron Wayne? Sorry, Misty. Ron Wayne. What if you have to trespass to save Ron Wayne from quicksand? So I would do it personally. I'm not sure everybody would. I think most people would. They should though. It is Solitude Surfer. Hey, buddy. So I'm just seeing what my capability is. Add as moderator. Nope. Not going to add you as a moderator. Pin message, remove, put user in timeout, hide. No. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out how um, dun, 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 how my mic is is so the mic sounds okay because it's not showing. It's showing on the mic. It's registering. It's just not showing on YouTube that it's using this mic. So let me just bring this, which I'm pretty sure it is, right? But it's just I don't know. Headphones, yeah, that's it. When I'm in StreamYard, I see, Misty Mrs. Wayne, be right back. When I'm in StreamYard, I can see which microphone it's using. And in here, I don't have that capability to go in and to see what mic it's using, which kind of sucks. So, um, yeah, Jim, YouTube is uh, we did too. So, um, I don't know if anybody. I'm just trying to see. I don't want to mess anything up while I'm doing this, but um, let me just do a little quick search here over on a side monitor. During YouTube stream, how to check which mic you're using. So somebody else has done this. How can I tell what mic I'm using? Yeah, I get it. It's important to check your mic before. How? From Android settings. It's not an. It's from. Oh Lord. Um, no, I don't. I'm not going to watch a video about it. What is the microphone icon on YouTube? Will only appear if the built-in microphone on the TV is turned on. Uh-oh. Oh, I don't know. Um, okay. So this kind of sucks. Misty Mrs. Wayne, it was 70s here today. Going to be 70s tomorrow and all downhill after that. 40s for the high and 20s at night. Yeah, we have Misty Mrs. Wayne. After tomorrow, it'll be in the 30s for like 10 days in a row. And that'll really start to like anchor the winter feeling around here. But we went 10 days into November with very good weather. We had a stretch of maybe a week. It was really cold in um, October, but we're ahead. Like this is shortened down our winter. It's Robert Ribbit Harrison. Hey, buddy. I'd love to be able to put you up on the screen, but I am using YouTube. Tomorrow night, though, at 7 o'clock, we have the legal man as the guest on the show. And I'll be able to bring up your questions. Now, that is going to be riveting. That guy is pure energy, the legal man. And he's going to also get into talk about like voting and elections. And I mean, hopefully things that do not derail the monetization of the show. But yeah, we are going to keep it going. So, yeah, very cool. Very cool. So hopefully the mic is sounding good. I don't see any way to check right here without totally like just nuking what's going on. So let's just do one more check over here. How do I tell which microphone I'm using? Right click the speaker icon. Let's try that. Okay, open sound settings. All right. Um, input microphone too sure. By golly, that worked. We've got the right microphone here. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I appreciate it. So yeah, I have that image. That is the biggest deer that we have. So we have 4 deer. Up until today, one of them still would move its head up and down, but it no longer does that. So I've had them 20 years. I bought them at Home Depot 20 years ago after Christmas, right? They were a closeout item and they're heavy. Like each one of those metal deer is 40 pounds maybe. So it's not these little things you see today, like these little um, resin around some wire stuff that they put out. Like that's not that's not what's going on here. Like these things are heavy duty, and then I stake them down like crazy. But once you get a little bit of snow and it freezes, then they're there. Then nothing's going to move them around. It's not really a big deal if anything does because they just tip over. It's not like they're going to blow down the hill or anything. Um, but yeah. So but the thing is, the lights had burned out on quite a few of them, or burned out in certain spots, and then like I would rope in new lights, and they're the white strand, so you just can't put anything on it. And in the daytime, it looks a little weird, except in winter when they're covered with snow, and then they look fine. Um, so basically, I've wrapped working lights over like three strands of dead lights because to take the lights off is a real job. So I spent about an hour today on the big deer, stripping down the old. Um, what in the world, Jim? No wooden. I think that's supposed to be nickels, but I'm not sure. But yes, I stripped down the one the larger deer and put some new lights in it. But the new lights can go bad just as fast. And I always say, like, sometime because I store these things down in my furnace room and I put them kind of in the back. So to get them out, it's not an easy thing. And always say, like, oh, in summer, I'll bring like two of them up and put them out on the driveway and just spend some time rewiring, putting new lights in them. And I never do because I always have other things I want to do. And of course, in winter, I just don't really have any tolerance to do that. And in general, I just don't have a lot of tolerance to sit there and because if I look at it, I'm like, well, I could, I with these things, I can just put another strand over a dead strand and call it good. But yeah, I actually did take the time to remove some of these, and I think just with a wire cutters from now on is what I'm going to do. Although then I would always have two live ends because I plug it in to see what works and what doesn't, and because everything's tangled in, so I would have to be a little more careful of what I was doing. But anyway, yeah, once I get the deer out staked out, that's a big thing. And then I'll run the cords out to them. And I ran the cords already to the fire bush. So everything is going well there. So wood is terrible plumbing. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying for. Yeah. Obviously. Obviously. Well, yeah. I don't know if it was in where I live. It was somewhere in Wisconsin. They still had some wood pipes the city had discovered. And I'm not sure if they were in use or not, but or they had hollowed out like a log or something. Did you beat the storm? So I we are trying to, and I think we will. The storms are supposed to start here about noon tomorrow. So it is, it's close to like 70 degrees and humid, which is very warm for this time of year. I think it's actually record setting. Um, and so yeah, tomorrow this cold front starts to move through and it'll drop by like 40 degrees. Um, so and that will also generate a lot of storms. So we're on the line of where kind of the mild severe storms and the moderate severe storms. We're kind of like right on that line. So we'll see. The biggest threat tomorrow is wind and tornadoes where we're at, but they said tornadoes would likely be short, still be tornado. Now, we don't have the big trees around anymore, so that's good. And anything we put out, like the big deer, and I stake them down, they could tip over in the wind, but if they did, it's not a big thing. I mean, they're 20 years old. I'm not sure how much longer they're going to last. They're starting to rust out a little bit. And yeah, if they tip over, then fine. I'll just go out and I'll restake them. So they're not going to fly around anywhere. They're very heavy. But if we don't run the cords and all of that tomorrow, then it's going to be in the 30s for the next 10 days after that, plus kind of windy. So for Wisconsin, putting up Christmas decorations when it's cold, it's trying to run cords is really hard because the cords aren't flexible. And just being out in the cold in general just sucks. I remember a couple of years ago, it was maybe like 7, 8 years ago. I used to do this like 150-foot red rope light in my maple tree in the front. And I used to swirl it up so it kind of Yeah, just a cool effect. And then, but that thing that got to be a big chore. And plus, like the tree's bigger. So to go up higher in the tree, it wasn't always the safest anymore. And so I tried to get everything out there, obviously, before it snowed, but there was a snowstorm coming in. And I was out there and I was debating whether I was going to put them out or not because like it's just such a job to put those red ones out. Although like you can also keep those going in February, right? For Valentine's Day, like for that week, you could just fire up that tree again and it kind of fits. But I'm sitting there and oh yeah, electricity in the rain, yeah. So we're all it starts to rain. I'm done tomorrow. I'm only running the cords. I'm not hooking anything live because we have remote in the outlets outside. We have remote, and their outlets all have the breakers in them. What is it? The CG breakers. GFI breakers. Um, but I'm not running. I'm not connecting to the outlets. I'll just run up to the outlets tomorrow. So I'll get all of the cords out. But and for anything that we do hook up, like that will just momentarily test. But if it's raining, I won't test anything. Or I'll test it in the garage. I won't test it um, outside. But yeah, so I had this rope light. I wasn't going to put it up until I was outside, and this guy. I still have a wooden sleigh that my neighbor made for me back when I lived up north, and it's just falling apart. The guy's been he's died like 10 years ago, and I've had this thing 20 some years and I really should get rid of it because I'd have to like totally overhaul this like sleigh to, so it's like a 6 foot long, um, so, oh my goodness. Is someone monitoring the chat here? Is someone able to, to clean that up a little bit? So, um, chat just got bad. Uh, so yeah, yikes. So just crazy stuff. Oh, so anyway, here's the deal. So I wasn't going to um there we go. Good. Okay. So about 7 8 years ago, I was outside just kind of last minute doing some stuff. And then this guy from couple houses down. He's walking down the street and he goes, "Oh man, I always love your house. Like that, just such nice decorations, but not overdone. And then that red rope light on that tree, that just looks so good at night." I'm like, "Oh man, I wasn't gonna put it." So I went downstairs, like got this 150 feet of rope light, and then there was a storm coming in, a snowstorm, but it hadn't snowed yet that year. So I had my ladders out, so I'm just on ground, not on snow. But you can start you're down to like a hour before the snow starts flying. So I'm just like working like crazy. And I literally got everything up when the snowflakes started to come down and put my ladders away and everything was good. But I ditched that after like a number of the sections that kind of burned out. And it was just really difficult to put that in really to rope that around. And then again, I had a friend of mine, former school administrator, who was putting up. I don't know if it was Christmas lights or he was cleaning out his gutters. I'm not sure which one it was, but he was up high on a ladder. He fell off and he was then paralyzed from the neck down. And great, absolutely great guy. And he lived maybe 2 3 years, and then he died probably in his 60s, early 60s, and then he died because of complications. With paralysis and but oh my god he was I mean just a huge mentor of mine. And yeah, so I always think of that. I have a ranch, so anything I do like with the house, I don't really have to get up on a ladder very high. And I have leaf covers on my gutters, which work great. Like I've never had to deal with anything. Some very rarely having to get up on a ladder. If I do clean the siding, I've just got an extendable thing and a power washer and stuff like that. But for the tree stuff and Halloween too, like I mean, when I put stuff up in the trees, it's kind of weird to think like a week ago the ghosts were up there and now, but the so anyway, the maple just stays. kind of solo in the front, and we've moved. We don't do that red light thing anymore. But now, I think it gets a little crazy. So we have traditional, the little incandescent white lights, right, that we put on our bushes in front, and then we have the fire bush, and then we have two little planters next to the garage on either side, and then there's a little Christmas tree in each one. So it's pretty subtle, and then two deer in the front, those metal deer, and then two in the back. Those are all on timers and stuff like that. And actually, the ones in the front will be much more visible now. This big tree that the neighbor had is gone, but I don't get, I don't like the big inflatable Christmas stuff. Um, like down the road from us, holy smokes, a big inflatable Grinch, and they kind of just, it's like too much. I mean, at Halloween, it's one thing. I think when you really kind of go all out on that, but when I don't, the inflatable stuff to me it just isn't my thing. Now, a friend of mine, I mean, he has his whole house is like LED decorated to music, to, it's computer programmed, and actually he keeps it that way for the whole year. So he's got like a 4th of July theme, and all this stuff going on, which is cool. That's like his thing. I mean, I bet you he spent 10 grand on that. I think he actually told me he spent like in the area of like $10,000 on all of his stuff, which is mostly like LEDs and screens. And he actually has a projector screen, so he shows on the side of his house a couple scenes from what is it, A Christmas Story? So, like 30-second clips or whatever. So, anyway, it's really cool. But I'm kind of like, now I do have one side of my house which is still siding, and it would I could put a little like projector type thing up there, and it would be kind of cool. But again, I'm like, I think it just gets to be too much. Um, we have a tree that'll be in the front window, and um, I don't know. Anyway, but tomorrow's is the race to get the stuff out before the storm gets hits. So Florida's getting pounded with a hurricane right now, Doc. Yeah, holy smokes. Um, saw have seen that on the news, and yeah. Um, so let's see. So tomorrow, again, 7 o'clock tomorrow is the legal man. So please consider that. Yeah, that's going to be a great show. Then Monday, Lisa Lenny's on the show, and um, talking about the law of necessity. The following Monday, we have the head of Wisconsin Esports is going to be on, Mike Dahl. So great stuff. Yeah, east side of Florida, because is it very rare for the west side? I don't know. I'm not from Florida, but yeah, so it's the east side of Florida. But holy smokes, yeah, that is intense. So for us tomorrow, it's like about a 6-7 hour window, because again, the temp it's 70 and humid, and tonight, like the low will be like 65. So and it's very humid out right now. And then this front comes through, and that's probably it for warm weather for a long time, because the next 10 days after that's like in the 30s for a high, and then and really this time of year it starts to drop, right? Because once we get into December, you know, it's 30s, then gets to be 20s. January and February are mostly like 20s and below. I mean, we had a stretch of in February, early February, about 5 years ago, where it was 30 below for the high every day for like 10 days. And the city just told people, because so many water mains were breaking, they just told people, leave your water run like on low, and we'll just, whatever your typical use of water is, we'll just bill you out at that. We won't bill you out for the extra, because otherwise the water mains were breaking. So yeah, where I'm at, we've never had a problem with that. And also with like my spigots, I've never had a problem. Well, I shouldn't say that. I did have a problem with a couple of those freezing over winter, but they've all been replaced in the last few years. And since then, I haven't had a problem with it. But yeah, um, but I don't. I mean, it's the way that it is. It's when now the good thing is when you get that minus 20, minus 30 degrees for a period of time. It helps out the ice fishing folks because we have the lakes around us. So you'll see like the shanties will start to pop up, and then it kills off the Asian beetles and stuff like that. We so really, if you get that, then the next spring and summer, you're pretty well set. You're not going to see that type of stuff, and that's the way it always is. Um, we had a really hard freeze here maybe 2 years ago. Again, a stretch of maybe 3, 4, 5 days of minus 30, and that there wasn't an Asian beetle the following year at all. Um, so it is kind of one of those things. I noticed like my concrete, not my new concrete, my concrete in front of my garage is one of two things is happening. Either that slab is going down. Now, I do have molding on the outside of the garage that's a synthetic wood that goes around the door. And that was cut to be a half inch above that slab in case the slab moved, because you don't want the slab to make contact with the wood and then start to create force where it would bend that frame out. Actually, it's a little too close for comfort right now. I need to cut that back, which will probably be like a spring project, but like I need to cut it up another half inch maybe. Um, but anyway, like, so there's still a gap. There's at least a quarter to a half inch gap between that and the slab. So I'm like, well, I'm not sure. Like the garage itself might be the slab in the garage might be coming up a little bit. Like this isn't that unusual because it's everywhere around here because it's freeze and thaw and stuff like that. So it's not like this is unusual, and it's not like a big concern. But I have noticed it, and I don't think it has anything to do with the slab that was poured. I think this has been that way for a while, but slab's fine. But yeah, some places they have to actually grind that down because of things get like so inverted, like you get a piece of concrete on a sidewalk, and I'm not dealing with anything like that. Um, and and I looked in the rest of the slab, like I have then sidewalk going into my around to my front door, and that's still level, and the other pads are level, and one of the pads at the end of the apron is a little high, but again, that those things just fluctuate. Like my neighbor's, his stuff is newer than mine, and it's kind of moved around a little bit. Um, but again, it's pretty common. Not a concern yet. So, um, where my parents live, the house that they built in '92, like so their driveway is pretty steep, and they poured concrete in sections, but where the concrete pad is in front of the garage, like that's sunk, God, at least an inch and a half. So I know you can go and do that mud jacking and stuff. And if I were them, I don't know if I would probably look into it, although it's not a problem for them getting in and out of the garage. What you don't want is you don't want the garage slab to be lower than the outside, right? Because then all the rain and stuff would work in. So like, I've never had that situation, but I think I'm going to caulk for the first time ever between my garage and then the two slabs in front, which are original, like 45 years old. Um, because maybe I've got water coming down there that's causing some issues. It's one of those things once you start that with that self-leveling caulk, and I have to put backer foam in there if I did that. That'd be like next year. But once you start that, then you kind of have to keep that going forever, which is something I'm not thrilled about. So yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm thinking about it. Man Against the Masses is here saying hello to Ron. Ron Wayne is on school board now. So did you hear when the race was on? Did you have to ask? So yeah, our population Benny Ballistics, the entire county is like 10K. The town I live in is like 3,500. Wow. So I am, I was surprised with the election results. Took me a better part of today to just kind of like think through it. So, I think my anticipation would be, um, this is the results are going to have, the influence on the stock market would be that stocks and bonds will go down, um, for two reasons. One is that, um, any piece of new infrastructure or whatever, right, infrastructure legislation gets passed, it would be very difficult to get it passed, um, with the through the house, right? So, I just don't think it's going to you're going to have those types of things. So, and it just I don't know. It seems like any thought that there would be an agenda of cutting back on spending that's already existing, that's not happening. So I don't know. I think it's I would today the market was down. Dow Jones was down 500, and I would just anticipate it's going to keep going down. So not necessarily a crash, but I would think if there would have been this red wave, it would have gone up and probably would have made a run toward the end of the year. But Jim's saying I fear tornadoes, living in a double wide and all. So yeah, no kidding. I don't like tornadoes either. And it was last year this time. Those tornadoes were ripping, not this time, but more like what December, through Kentucky, Tennessee, and um, so yeah, I don't. From what they're saying, right? I don't know how you downplay a tornado, but they are downplaying the tornadoes, the chances, and just say, it's going to be, they won't be on the ground for long, and so there is the scale here where, nope, I don't want that. The severity of 1 to 5, and I think, they're saying these will mostly be like a F1 if it does happen. So, um, again, I'm not as worried because, I mean, personally worried because the two big trees that the neighbors have, they took those down in August, and those would be the ones that would have fallen in a big wind. And actually now, I mean, because there aren't leaves, like a lot of these trees, um, they're not going to move around. So, um, right, because the leaves are what would catch and put the strain on the trees. So to have the trees fall down, um, now, it would be pretty unlikely. It's just all the Christmas decorations. It's kind of a gamble putting it out there. So about 15 years ago, my neighbor, after Christmas, put his garbage can out, and we had a big windstorm, and overnight, like a high wind thing, and he had all of his Christmas wrapping in the garbage can, and it blew all over the neighborhood. And the guy was a doctor, and then he was out the next morning, like picking stuff up from like people's yards for third of a mile. It's just crazy. So, um, Benny Ballistics is saying the problem with Kentucky is we always have tornado watches warnings, so people don't pay attention to them. Yeah, not so much here in Wisconsin. Usually, when they do that, it's somewhere there's going to be something going on. So, and for us, November to March, that's you're not going to have anything really outside of snow. Um, but yeah, um, Z. When I was a kid, Mary Poppins. Myself, about 30 up in the air and 50 plus yards sideways in Arizona monsoon dust storm. Holy smokes! Benny Ballistics. People in Milwaukee freak out in a thunderstorm. Wow. So I am, I'm going to get up and rewire the other three deer tomorrow, and then get those staked out. It's one I always second guess where I put them too. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, says Ron Wayne. Um, I initially put them out, and then I try to like look from the road. How does it look? And then how does it look if you're, um, you know, straight on or coming up the road or down the road, or like we also live on top of a hill. So if you're coming through another road that looks up on the hill, you'll see the two deer in the back, which it's a really cool effect. Because it's about a football field away from where the road is. And so I try to make those, look good. So basically, so they're not like one isn't blocking the other out. There's enough space between the two of them, and so there's a little 3D chess going there. But then I kind of get critical of myself. Like after they're on, I'm like, I should have like moved them. But then after like 3 days, they're like they're fine. They're good. It doesn't. You don't have to be super precise on that stuff. But yeah, we had a couple birch trees in the back that we had removed because they were too close to the house, kind of leaning and stuff like that. And I used to do those up like candy canes, and a really cool effect. When I took the tree down or had the tree taken down, again, like 15 years ago, my neighbor was really sad. He's like, "Oh, that was always so cool to look at." I'm like, I get it. Then we have the spruce trees in the back, which are now like 60 feet high. And for a number of years, I used to do white lights, small white lights on those, which was a really cool effect. But again, it's too tall. We have a neighbor down from us who has like a 60-foot spruce tree, and they spend the time, they'll decorate that thing all the way to the top. And then I think it's got all these programmable, lights. So kind of like it'll be red, and then it'll be blue, and then it'll be white, and then it'll be green, and do some little dancing around those. It's cool. And yeah, they have several like poles that they have put together to make this happen. They work as like a team, like I don't know, families out there. It's neat. So I like it. There used to be those icicle type things that were pretty popular, at least like in my area, and now they're not anymore. So I don't even know where to buy them, but yeah, I bought a ton of these white lights to replace the deer. So, because every year, like you'd go through like 4 strands, and then it'd be very hard to find them because the white cord, right? The white wire, everything is green, and you don't want green on the white deer. So, but I finally got it, and it, looks pretty good. Um, so anyway, that'll be good after that's done tomorrow. And I have dun, 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 I have a few meetings. I got one starting on Friday. I think I have 2 meetings on Friday, but I've got some consulting I'm starting to do again. So dusting off the old consulting stuff and the business numbers and the EIN and all of that stuff, and getting back into it. So I wasn't going to do it, but then again, I think the economy is too iffy, which is the reason in 2020 I started to push out the consulting more. And districts have contacted me, superintendents have contacted me, and hey, would you be willing to do this for us? And and so of course, like when people ask for that, then they're going to work with you, right? So when you're a consultant in that role, it's really a good setup. And then I contacted my transcriptionist that I used with my book. She's in Madison, and she's a professional transcriptionist. That's her livelihood. So she transcribes things for university and court stuff, and just bilingual, all stuff. She's really great, awesome. And I said, hey, I've got this district that I'm putting a proposal together to do some safety things. Right, it's much more complicated than that. But and I said one of the things that they are interested in is to have me facilitate 3 focus groups. So like elementary, middle, and high school safety focus group, which is great. Like I love doing that. And I used to bring in like my high end recorder for that, my H4n and I'll set that up. And now I just use like a little Sony one I had from college. Like it, the quality's good enough, and it's really portable, and there's no need to kind of bring in the bigger device. I could just literally put it in my a bag or a pocket when I'm done with it. So anyway, I said, what would it cost for, like 3 hours of transcription? So I don't, I think, no, I think it was like 120 minutes, like 3 sessions, 40 minutes each. And then I would need, you know, obviously transcribed, and then I would have everybody say who they were before they talked, because otherwise you get a transcription of a focus group. You need to say, my name is Stuart. I'm a fourth grader here, because otherwise you don't know who these people are when you're just trying to read this stuff cold. Um, but so she got back to me today with a quote on that, because I need to add that into my quote to the district and say, here's, you know, this is part of the overall project, but just so you know, like I do have this cost that I have to outsource um, this this transcription stuff. So, but but anyway, that's looking good. I like the district, the primary one I'm doing this with, and then it's firing up kind of the bigger consulting model again, where I do more of the special education consulting. That becomes more nationwide. So I've got a meeting Monday, Monday afternoon, I think, Monday evening. It's Lisa Lenny on the show, but with one of my um, uh, clients that I worked with during the pandemic, and we're going to talk about bringing the band back together. So I'm a little mixed on it, though. I mean, there is a benefit of doing that, obviously, but it is then this time commitment, and it does kind of mess things up if I want to be biking earlier in the year, like in April and May. Um, so, but on the other hand, I don't know. Um, Heath is saying, remember, deer need 220 volts. 110 volt won't do it these days. Plus, they glow much brighter. Yeah, holy smokes. They so they have motors on them which no longer work. So some of them, the components just fell apart over the year, plastic stuff, and but I so anyway, I didn't totally bypass the motors on all of these, meaning the cord goes through the motor and then it goes out for the first strand of lights. And I should have just bypassed all of the motors as I was kind of redoing these, and I didn't. So some of these motors spin for no reason. I'm sure they're inefficient. They probably cost me $1 a day to run them, and they don't do anything. And if anything's going to short out and cause a problem, it's that. But I mean, then these deer are out in the yard surrounded by snow, so they're made of metal. So pretty sure I'm not going to have a problem with that. But yeah, I need to make a commitment to just rewire. Now, here's something you guys can help me with. I don't. I use these little twist ties. You might see like on a loaf of bread or something, like the metal little. It's piece of metal, thin metal wire with like a white cardboard on it, and then you like twist it on it, like a again loaf of bread or something like that. I need some way to connect these lights, but I don't want like a zip tie or anything, because I need to be able to get these off easily if they burn out. So it's kind of like a zip tie concept, but some way I can connect these lights to the frame that would streamline it. Because right now I'm having to go in and kind of use like these individual like little twisty ties, and it works, but then it takes a long time to disassemble. Um, and I'm like, God, there's got to be a better way to do this, but I don't know. Yeah, I thought about Velcro, but it's outside, right? So Velcro probably wouldn't hold up for more than a season, right? And it's going to get debris in it and other stuff. Um, Ron Wayne is saying white electrical tape. Um, yeah, I didn't even know white electrical tape existed. I was that would be an option, to use like a white electrical tape, because it doesn't matter to me if there's any like sticky residue on the frame. Um, but yeah, actually, that let me just put this over in my eBay thing here. That would make things super fast. Wait, electrical tape. Um, a six pack? No. Warrior wrap? No. I just need a. I just need a basic. Why? What is warrior wrap? 7 mil. That's some pretty intense stuff there, Ron Wayne. Really? You used a Misty's. Cool. So suitable for 600 volts. Yeah. So not bad. Not what I need. It's a buck 21, which is a good deal. Warrior, warrior wrap. Um, provide secure all weather conditions. Well, that'd be good. Good adhesion, strength, elongation for indoor outdoors. A good flame retardant, harsh UV, I guess, because it's going to be outside. Abrasion, corrosion. Um, State of origin, Kentucky. Wow, that's a good deal. So I don't know. This seems pretty good. I mean, it's $1.21. It's let's see, its Amazon ratings 77 are really good. Um, yeah. Um, here's someone who made a. Uh, I used white electrical tape for my craft. A demon slayer sword for Halloween. I think the adhesion is not so strong, but it was perfect for use in my craft. What? All right, I have to throw this in the cart. Add to cart. Do I have anything else in the cart that needs to be purchased? Um, computer printer, paper. Yeah, I was going to do another stand for my. The hell is it? Headset. This headset, but I just put it over with my other headset that kind of works in the same stand. So I don't order a lot off Amazon. I need to get a better car wash. So there's Chemical Guys has this Mr. Pink foaming car wash. Um, I don't know what you guys think, but I like a really foamy car wash, and I wash by hand. You know, the bucket. I've got the whole bucket system. Like I wash cars since I've been 16, right? Model T. So, but so Ron Wayne just sent me a link here. So let's check this out. But yeah, what do you suggest for a really soapy car wash? Um, or a car soap, I should say, because the stuff you get at Walmart, you get the big gallon of electrical tape 5 pack. All right, cool. So Ron, when you use that tape, then do you just cut it off when you no longer like? Does it come off pretty easy? Because that's what I would think is I would just use a box cutter, right, and just go and cut it off. Because if I'm taking off the cord's dead anyway. I don't care if the cord gets nicked up. The cord that goes with the little lights. Ron's like, yeah, Dave, I know exactly what you mean. So I've I've done this. Seen what that looks like. Cool, buddy. Thanks. Looks good. Yeah, actually, that looks really good. I wish I would have thought about that sooner. But going forward, if I'm going to keep the deer, I've got to make a commitment to just, which is summer, because I'm in a good mood in summer. I'm not in a good mood in fall or winter. So, like, to sit down and to tediously like strip all of hundreds of lights off of this metal deer and replace it, like, I do not tolerate that this time of year. It makes me very angry. I shouldn't say very angry. Someone's going to cut that out and say, "Look at Doc is angry." This, I just don't like it. Um, I want to be doing that like out on my driveway or my new concrete, sitting in a chair, listening to a little bit of tunes and have it warm out, have a iced tea next to me. That's what I want to be doing. I don't want to be doing it now. But yeah, I don't want any like clock ticking. Like if it takes me an entire day to do two deer, it doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, Chemical Brothers. So do you guys know what I'm saying here? So Ron Wayne, thanks for the link. But Chemical Guys, Robert is a Chemical Guys. It's Chemical Cousins. Look at this here. It's chemical. It is Chemical Guys. Um, it is Mr. Pink Wash Soap. Works with foam can. I don't have a foam cannon. I probably wouldn't do that. So I'm I'm just a bucket of soapy water guy, and I do have the little strainer thing at the bottom of the bucket to keep the debris from the car. And like my car, it's 5 years old and it's been dinged up, and I'm very careful, cleaning up the chips and getting a little paint on things. The thing is, like here in Wisconsin, like you just got to clean that up and get a little paint on to make sure the rest doesn't take off. But I just like a really dense soap, a lot of lather, and so and then I go over and um, we'll do a little ceramic spray touch up and stuff like that. But it's just kind of a preference too. So Chemical Brothers, yeah, just cut it. It never got sticky either. Cool. Um, okay, so Heath, you're saying chemical guys. I put it up here in the thing. Um, I mean, I don't wash like crazy in summer, but I do wash on a pretty regular basis. And to me, it's like cathartic. It honestly, I I enjoy washing. I enjoy detailing the vehicles. So, but to not have any, um, here we go. Yeah, looks really great. I'm going to do that. So let me go back to my Amazon cart. What am I going to move out of here? Man, I don't know if I should get this extra headphone set or not. I probably should. So, so yeah, there's also this thing, Griot's Garage. Griot's Garage. I don't know if you got. I get catalogs from them all the time. I ordered something from them, some detailing stuff for paint, and now they send me these really nice catalogs. And I'm like, whoa! I'm not sure I'm that committed to the whole project here, but I haven't. They have a little scooter thing. You sit on it, right? So, and you basically then it has where you can put your detailing stuff on the sides, and you can scoot around the vehicle. So you're up maybe 20 inches off the ground, so you can do the panels and stuff. And I'm like, that would actually work for me because now with the concrete slab, if I put a car in the middle of the driveway, I had plenty of room like to just move around. And instead of like having to bend over or try to do the panels and stuff, you could actually just sit there and slowly move around, especially on the front. There's so much detailing that needs to be done on the front of a car with the way that the grills are and stuff. And but things like $120, it's one of those things I look at. I'm like, oh god, that's a lot of money to spend. And then I don't know where I would keep it. Although in summer, I'm pretty sure I could put it out in the garage and find a home for it. Um, but on the other hand, I'm like, the thing is, I would actually use it. I would be using it. So yeah, that's so anyway. Um, let me check something else out here. So la da 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 da. Da da dun 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 da da da. Da da dun dun dun. All right, let's see here. Cool, cool, cool. So, um, man. All right, let's get out of here. So if you guys are saying chemical guys, is that what you're saying here? All right, so let's do this. I'm going to try this. So now I have the monetization thing here. I've got, also for the first time, I'm trying this, I can add a pole. So, order chemical guys, um, car wash. Uh, and then okay, trying this. All right, so I just put out a survey for you guys, or a poll. If you use a bucket, buy a filter screen for the bottom. I did, um, Robert. So that's the setup that I have, um, and yeah, so you don't put the sponge in dirt water. The better. Yep, that's the setup I've got going. So I've got a 2 bucket setup also, and then when I'm done, I take my I use 3 different sponges. One is kind of when I'm working initially on the front, and I have this stuff you put on to get the bugs off, which actually works really well. And then just do it on the front. Um, and then I spend a lot of time kind of working with this. It's not a braid, it's a sponge. It's just it's a little more rigid on getting that, but I don't put a lot of pressure on, but it works really well. And then I move to different sponges depending upon what I'm doing on the vehicle. So yeah, it's a pretty good setup. But God, I'm trying to think where in the hell I ordered all of that stuff from originally. I've had it for quite a while, but yeah, the more elbow grease, the better. Um, yeah, I mean, when I'm washing the vehicle, I don't have to really because so both of the vehicles when we bought them new and they both had the ceramic coating put on, um, and you know whether or not how long that lasts, I don't know. But I've got 30,000 miles on my car, and the other one is 9, and we keep them in the garage all the time. So, there isn't the stays pretty good, right? Because it's not outside for very long. Um, and then, although we do have the Wisconsin winter stuff, but when it comes to elbow grease, yeah, I reapply a turtle wax mist spray, and then that takes me a while. And I also have I order very specific car cleaning rags for the exterior, and then I only use those once. And then What else do I do? Oh, and then I have 2 big that it just soaks up the water that I had ordered. So, and that's only meant to get the water off. Then I use stoner glass on the windshield. Well, I use it on all the windows, but on the windshield, I do it a couple times with the stoner glass, and then I apply Rain-X. Um, and I've gotten to really be a big Rain-X guy. Like I used to do that, but now like I do it all the time. Um, so yeah, and I applied Rain-X earlier this week. It was in the 70s. No, it was last week. And then I went to university on Saturday and it was raining the whole time over there. But thankfully, like I just applied Rain-X like 2 days before, and it helps the winter. So, um, so anyway, yeah. Um, and part of it's just keeping the vehicle clean, right? Just keeping stuff off. And I always vacuum the vehicle out whenever I detail. It depends what depth of detailing I get to, but usually I always vacuum the vehicles out. I had the custom mats ordered for both brand new, the WeatherTech for each one, including the trunk liners. So those work great. And then in winter, when you get to like the last snowfall's done, then I take them out and I take them downstairs, and we have a big wash tub, and then I put them in and scrub them down because they're like just caked in salt, but they keep the floors from getting all messed up. Uh, so yeah, I really always find it cathartic, find it refreshing to work on a vehicle. But part of it is really soaping up. Z, a ceramic coat of the toilet bowl and it stayed clean for a long time. Probably, buddy. Doc, you ain't going to get a real answer to the last one. Well, let's check this poll up here. If you haven't, let's end the poll. How are the what were the results? Oh, should I order Chemical Guys wash? Ron Wayne is a Kentucky Batman, 50%. Yes, which also counts as a yes. Yes, 33. Get Garage, 16. No. So we should order it. Yeah. I like the Garage stuff. I mean, and the fact that they reach out and send me a catalog every like month. And I made like a $20 purchase from them. And they have just so much stuff. Um, so let's do this car wash. Sudsy wash. Sudsy wash. I don't want to do the cannon, the gun thing. So just not my style is pale. That's me. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, God, they've got some good stuff here. Ceramic wash and coat. Yeah. Whoa. Washing your vehicle is perhaps the most important step to get right. Gratz Garage Wash is engineered. High lubricity formula cleans safely, prevents blemishes. Yeah. My car at this point, the finishes aren't perfect on either of them anymore, but 16 ounce creates a 32 gallons of sudsy wash. Ooh, God, yeah. I don't know, man. Let's go back here to Amazon. I guess I could get both of them in smaller containers. It's probably a smart move, and then to figure out which one works best. So, yeah, I like that. I like that approach. What the hell is going on here? Thanks. Unreal. Unreal. It didn't add it. Move to cart. Unreal. All right. I think I got what I need. Not in the mood for that tonight. All right. $20 foam cannon. I don't know, but man, I don't know. I just. So the other part is I don't. I would need a longer hose to really make a foam cannon work for what I need. So I don't know. But anyway, it's Coop. Hey, Coop, did you mail anything today, buddy? Foam cannon works on Hornet. Yeah. So my brother-in-law used to work at a company that made like that wasp, stuff you shoot the foam up at take out the wasp nests. And he got like a whole case of that and gave it to me a couple of years ago. Like just set from because they had whatever they got manufactured and something was wrong with the packaging on them. So the employees got to take them home. So I have like a case of that stuff downstairs, which I don't have a problem with hornets or wasp or bees in general around my house. So it's just kind of downstairs right now. But to save that tomorrow, brother had a bit. Okay. Oh, you did get the cut finish. So, Coop, how did I can't bring you in the stream because I'm doing here on YouTube. How did it work when with the power? What did you said the power converter was white, but you were trying to get it up behind, and does it also have an option? It's completely awesome, man. I've been sharing that link with everybody. You can turn it on and off, and then you can adjust the colors. Um, so what was I gonna say on that? Oh God, I forgot. I forgot. Oh, does it have where you can just leave it on a static? Because what I want to do, so in back of me, like when I have meetings, right? Um, I'd like to have it on, but just where it has a static light on it. I don't want it to be flashing during a meeting, like with a school district about, you know, things. It'd be cool. They'd be like, that's awesome. But I would, then I would want it to be static in the background, or else I could just like leave it off and it would still get easily enough light. But you could do all kinds of colors. You can leave it on. Oh, very cool. Yeah. So to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I love it. I'm terrified I'm not gonna be able to program it. So I will. I'll figure it out. Here, the deal is like I had a scanner a couple of years ago, Bearcat scanner, and then I just like couldn't program it. And I actually I put an ad in in Craigslist. I'm like, you can, if you can program this is where I live. Like I will drive and give you like $20 if you're within like 20 minutes of me. And I drove to some dude who like knew all the codes. He's like, this is the jail. This is like the fire department. And then if somebody programmed, it wasn't the code. I didn't know how to program the damn thing. So, if send me a video, oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. I'm just, like I've got the studio, I've got things, I'm running classes in Moodle. I'm doing a lot of really cool things, but sometimes, but then my kids figure stuff out. So, but I'm just like, whoa, but it's cool. So, yeah, it is awesome. I've got an idea for what I'm going to do with the cord too. So you can see behind me where the paneling matches up. And when I run the cord down, I might take um, it's kind of like a cord goes, it's like a tube that the cord goes in, and then it mounts against the wall. I have it in my garage where I put my wires for the um, garage door opener, but it's white, so I would just paint it black and then put it down. And I think it'd be really cool. Um, so it's gonna be really cool. I'll figure it out. But so yeah, so let's see. He glued tea light candles on it for that that Amish look. Look at that. Yeah, that isn't holy smokes, man. Yeah, so I live within like 20 minutes of an Amish community. They built like most of my furniture. And so they built, and that's true. Like since we've been here, our kitchen table and 6 chairs and all of that, and it took like 6 months. You'd go in and say, this is what I want, like from Levi, and then they built my one daughter's bedroom set. Stuff was just amazing. She has no idea like how nice that is, and I just told her like, both our daughters, like when we're older and we don't have this place anymore, like there are certain pieces of furniture do not get rid of. But the I'll take a little video of it sometime. We had 2 end tables and a coffee table made by Ray Bontrager. So Amish just so go out to his wood shop and and then you're kind of like drawing this out and doing the measurements. And he's like, okay, like I'll build it and I'll send you a postcard. So like 6 months later, boom, you get a postcard and the stuff's done. And the quality is amazing. And the one end table is about 2 foot wide, but it's like 3 foot deep. And that's what we wanted. We wanted this. And he put a drawer in that pulls out like this 3 foot drawer that's like a foot wide. It's a skinny drawer and it has all these metal brackets to support it. So it's super heavy duty. Like you could never order anything like this. Again, all this custom stuff. And this is amazing. This and so yeah, he's done a ton of stuff for us. But so anyway, I need to I think I need him to build anything for us now. It's kind of it's not I gotta get away from it. My wife and I, our bedroom set is, my the oldest and the least expensive in the house. You know, my daughters, we bought a new bedroom set. We had our daughter pick out, and we ordered it locally. It's made in Wisconsin, but it's through our in town. Um, I can't think tonight, but you know, furniture store. Anybody watching this back would be like, "Holy Christ!" I'm like, "No, it's Mountain Dew, man." But but I am, but our daughter, who's a middle schooler, like she's still at bunk beds, and so she's like, "Can I get something that's not bunk beds?" Yeah, of course. So we took her there and said, "You can pick out what you want, right? Although it's not cheap, and then we have to approve it like we're with you." Um, because when you're gone, either this will stay in the house or this will eventually go with you. But then she got to pick out the hardware, and so she has a very nice bedroom set. But like my other daughter, my high school daughter's bedroom set, which was made by Levi at his Amish shop. I mean, that thing, and then he came and set it up. He had somebody bring him, and I mean, that thing is amazing. You want to, I mean, that was before like all this inflation stuff, hit. So I would, I would guess, I don't know what we paid for that bedroom set, 6,000, maybe 7,000. So, but consider that it would be legacy furniture that they would have forever, right? So if you're starting out as a, so basically a queen, right? So, you're starting out your family, right? That this furniture could then come up and be in your house, and that would be kind of that was the thought behind it. So, um, anyway, I don't know. Got off of the on that, but I don't have any other. We should replace our couch and love seat at some time because we've been had them for a while. Cats don't scratch up much because they have their scratching posts and their big cat towers and all of that, but they do kind of go after the couches now and then. But it doesn't bother me. My wife then kind of sews it up and does a little touch up on it. But they're really good. Like the cats are really good with that stuff, and they all three of them have their claws. And actually, one has kind of pulled up a little bit of the carpet upstairs in our fireplace room. So I patched it up a little bit but eventually we'll rip that carpet out and put something else in there. But I don't know. When I was young, that stuff used to bother me like crazy. And like now it doesn't because um, other stuff does, but that doesn't. Vanessa saying, "Hi, hey Vanessa." So Ron Wayne, we have an Amish grocery across the mountain. They are amazing what they do. Yeah. So Ron, our Amish grocery, they they have skylights. So it's like a modern building on a slab. So it was smaller, and now the new one is bigger. I would, I'm not going to guess how big it is, um, but it is maybe the new building's 10 years old, and they have like where you can pull up your horse and stuff like that. So, and they run the old time register. So everything has to be check or cash. And they have two, areas where you check out everything's in bulk. They have really great gloves, like Kinko leather gloves, like work gloves. So like that's where I try to like buy my gloves and stuff. Um, and then they really cool things like wind chimes and stuff like that they make. But I we go out there periodically. Always have great stuff. But in winter, if it's cloudy, then they have gas lamps in the rows in the aisles. There's zero electricity there, so it's pretty amazing. And then you go past, and they have the one room schoolhouses with all the firewood outside to keep warm, and it's amazing. But yeah, we ordered. Yeah, we had some furniture upholstered there too. So, man, Jim, I got to shower and try to get work link out of knees. So, well, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Jim, the legal man. So that guy's on fire. You're gonna love him if you follow him at U.S. Law Review and then the Quash. I mean, that show, I'm not sure will be monetized. We'll start out monetized. So I don't know if you're coming, if you can just let me know. You don't have to do a super chat, but if you can just, because I know super chats work, that's been done. But when you come into the show from like right now, if you were to leave and come back into the show, does it run a commercial at the start for, does it run an ad before it lets you in for like 5 seconds? You got to click, or does it immediately let you back in? I'm just trying to see if I've what it does, because I've never been monetized before, and um, I don't know, right? So like last show, my birthday show was the first super chat, and Mike was generous with the super stickers. And again, I'm not asking for anyone to, to do that. I'm just wondering if what it's what it's doing now for the ad stuff, because I didn't have ads. I realized until after, when the show was done, I didn't have ads turned on during the show. The super chats were on. So, oh, Z is blocking the ads. So, got it. Um, so yeah. Yes, I've come and gone a few times. It's a 5-minute window. When you leave, come back. Okay. Gotcha. Um, yeah. The other thing, there's a leather working shop at the Amish place. So I don't know what I had to take out there. If it might have been one of my belts. So I have a through Mernicle Holster, which they were outside of Las Vegas, and now they're in Texas, and they make, well, holsters, right? Gun holsters, but they also do other leather work. So I have a holster belt that I wear all the time. And the reason I wear a holster belt is because it's just a really good belt. Like, it never wears. It's really thick, right? To be made to have the holster on it so it wouldn't fold over. So it's awesome. And, and I had them make a belt for me, and then I lost weight, and then I sent them out and had them make another belt. But I'm like, make it like this one. So I actually sent the one to him, call out there, as a family business. And then I'm like, send me both back. Um, but like, here's like the measurements, like on the current one, like, and they made exactly what I asked. But I needed, I was losing some weight, which is a good thing. And I needed another hole punched in the belt. So I took it out to the Amish leather dude. And I'm like, can you add another hole in the belt and do whatever you need to do to, to appropriately make this so that doesn't become a weak area and rip out or whatever. So, like punch it, but then also like seal it. He knew. I mean, he looked at it and said, yeah, sure. Not a problem. I'll just, then boom. Um, but, uh, but yeah, so very, very cool. Yeah. So Koopa said, I got home about 8:30. Now it's SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative, Star Wars. Koopa's working on a lot of reading and a couple of papers to write. One down and one to go. So it's some Cold War stuff that Koopa's working on right now, SDI under Reagan. So, whoa, if the country would have gone red yesterday, that probably would have really advanced. But now that initiative's iced for a little bit, but still good stuff to know. Ron Wayne, ours doesn't have that atmosphere. Oh, it's electric modern. Okay, yeah. Ours totally is. And it's just cool. I'm really glad that we have that community close to us. And of course, why did I say of course? But in spring, my wife goes out there and gets all the flowers. Um, for around the house, they have a few greenhouses. They have a couple awesome bakeries. Like people will drive an hour to get to the bakeries, and they're only open like a certain time. And it's kind of like first come first serve. And but but yeah, Misty. So let me, if Ron needs a belt, give me just a second here. So um jeez. Um all right. I've worked with, again, I haven't worked with this. Miracle Holster. They make holsters, they make saddles, but they also have a wide range of belts. This is a family business. I've had them make belts for my dad, for my brother, as a gift. That is how impressed I've been with them for like 20 years. I had a friend of mine. Yeah, it is real leather. So check them out, Ron. Check them out, and you will not be disappointed, my friend. Um, Again, it's a family business. The quality is impeccable. I have belts. The belt I'm wearing easily 10 years, and probably wear it like well every day except summer. But um, and thing is like virtually nowhere. But it forms to your body, but it does. There's no fatigue in the sides. Nothing. Um, Nothing's unraveling. Right. I mean, it is really well made. So check that out. Right there's the link. Miracle holster. So USA all the way. Um, so look at that, Misty Mrs. Wayne. Christmas present for Ron. And Misty Mrs. Wayne is like, I'm this close to leaving a review for your book. So, which I appreciate. It's been I haven't it's been at 24 reviews for a long time. And School of Airs has been at 54. So Velocity of Information, which rocks. So Misty Mrs. Wayne is going to tell you all about this book. She's going to come on and say, like, this was so amazing. So and then School of Airs, Vanessa wrote a review for School of Airs, an awesome review. We're at 54 reviews. And this book also is an audiobook that I narrated. So that's been doing well out on Spotify and the 43 places Audible that sell it. So one of the things too is like when I consult places, like I say, we got to buy this book because we'll do like a group study around the book, and then I put together some questions. So like the administrative team and the school board typically, because it's $22, which it's not cost prohibitive when a district does that. They do book reviews and stuff, but I'm like, bring in the book, and then we'll do um, I'll lead you through like a book review on customer perceived value and some of the other stuff to deal with it. And so I sell some books, people spread the word, and it's all good. Um, Working on leather campaign chairs this winter. That's Vanessa. The tripod stools are a hit. Oh man, that's cool. That's very cool. Heath is saying I have one of those old US leather holsters with a big flap cover. No idea when it was made. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that is. Yeah, well, Ron, you don't have to get rid of the belt. It just becomes your second belt, your reserve belt. So, yeah, um, just consider it as the backup, right? So, I do have a backup to this belt. Like if I'm working, yard work and stuff, I always throw the other belt on. And not that this belt would be, smashed up or anything, but yeah, no, Ron, seriously, Miracle holsters. I've bought from them for 20 years, and I had maybe one belt that wore out that I was using like on lumber stuff and things like that. And it took it, I could have probably still worn it, but um, the belt I have on now is easily 10, 12 years old. And like they are so accommodating. Like I sent them the one belt and I'm like, I need another one like this, but like 2 inches shorter. And, you know, and they're like, okay, cool. So they got it. And then they just made the other one. They sent both of them back to me. Um, but their craftsmanship is phenomenal. And yeah, I can't say enough. And the quality, like if you have a holster on it, it's not going to fold over. And like I'm just wearing it now just with jeans, and it looks great because like again, the craftsmanship really stands out. You're not going to have areas where the color is going to fade out on this. Like this, I've had this thing 10 years, and it's brass. Um, like where your buckle and stuff comes in, like all of that is you can either get a stainless steel, but the buttons, right, that put that in heavy duty, those are all brass. So it's really cool. Like that, you know, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. So, um, Misty Mrs. Wayne, yeah, when it lets me in going to leave a review, which I'm just getting into chapter 1, but just gotta say I didn't have a chance to start reading until about 30 minutes. Cool. Well, Misty Mrs. Wayne, when you're done with that, I would love to hear what you think. You know, what stood out and just a little the way there's a few things in there. Okay, so not spoilers, but um the way I wrote the book too was supposed to be very much kind of like, and it's called like an anthology approach, meaning that if somebody read when somebody reads the book, um, they're you go back and say, "Yeah, remember the crab boat guy?" And like, because there's a big story, I interviewed him. There's this whole story, so you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember like the dude the boat guy," and then he was going to leave the first night, and then he decided not to, and then these dangers and stuff like that. Like you'll remember the story because we learn from stories, right? So you're going to remember the story, or Larry Lawton, or um, Morgan Rogue, and you're going to know the themes from the stories. So that's what I was trying to do with that. And then I think when you get to the chapter early in the book about the Pigeon Forge Gatlinburg wildfire, I'm not going to say anything about it now, but um, there's a specific style I used in that chapter. And afterwards, I'd love to talk to you after you've read the book and reflect on the book and all of that. And then I'm going to point out a couple style things that I did. And I don't know if I believe they worked. I don't know if people will pick up on them because, like, when I read, I probably don't pay as much attention to certain style things. And by the way, like Misty Mrs. Wayne, those graphics that are in there. Yeah, Amy K. DiStefano, who's a graphic artist on the East Coast, made those for me. I'd sketch them all out, and then Amy, I'd say, "Can you make this?" And she'd create these things. Are awesome. So, um, anyway, it's just it's exciting. So thank you. Um, I think it's an amazing book. So I've been talking about yeah. So right away, you hit the Karl Manke story, essential or non-essential. And so when I outlined the book, so the book took me. I worked at a pretty rapid pace, but to initially outline it took a few months, and then I didn't have essential or non-essential in the book, um, and I thought about it when I was like 75% done, and I'm like, there's something missing. Like I need to have something fair that everybody went through, and how everybody kind of has a certain feel about like an experience. It was probably like a raw, visceral experience. That was like when we woke up to be essential or non-essential. So I decided I'm going to put this chapter in. And actually, it was going to be a different chapter. It was going to be written about a lady um, who was in Wisconsin, who I know, who was a prison guard, and then she got deemed as essential. I have to go back in the story. She was essential or non-essential, and then it required there was something really with that, but it was like in the prison system, like if as a guard, or like as you go up the ranks, if you're deemed essential or non-essential, when budget cuts come in and whatever. But it was a good story, but like this one was more appropriate. So Carl Mankey, the barber from Ossawa, Michigan, who you'll read about in Essential, Non-Essential, that's a perfect story early in the book. Um, so Gatlinburg is very close to us. Really, Ron. Yeah. So Misty, share that section with Ron. There is a section about the Gatlinburg fire of 2016, and the Pigeon Forge fire. So um, that is an awesome chapter early in the book to talk about the collapse of physical time. So, okay, well, if Gatlinburg is close by you, so my daughter and wife, my daughter was participating in a dance competition at Dollywood 2 years ago, and she was Saturday night. She was dancing at the Milwaukee Bucks game at halftime, she's 16. She's danced since she's been 3 on this competitive dance team, and, um, I think that's where she is right now, is dance practice, but it is anyway, that's a really cool chapter. So if you're close to Gatlinburg, well, then I know your general area. So, um, I'll have it read by the end of the weekend. So yeah, I'm a reader anyway. So Misty, Mrs. Wayne also, I think, Mr. I think the Kentucky Batman has a link to the audiobook. So, um, the audiobook was narrated by actor Ben Hawk from the TV show 30 Rock and Manifest. And so the Kentucky Batman does have a link to that. Same thing you're reading, right? But and professionally narrated. Like I did a good job narrating School of Airs, but I mean this was professionally narrated. The audiobook is not available for retail purchase until April 12th by contract. It's all done, it's all out there. It shows up in a lot of places like Barnes and Noble. Like you can pre-order and stuff like that. But anyway, like the Kentucky Batman does have a link to a reviewer single file of it, which is perfectly fine with my publisher and things because I own the audiobook rights. Um, well, hey Ron, if you're going to do a review, then that's 2 reviews, and that would be good. And guys, don't this book needs a little love too. So, um, so I've been thinking about third book, and so the third book would, I think, have to be a school safety book. And I say that because it just matches the PBS stuff. It matches the consulting that I'm doing. And, and I don't know, send that book to Senator Johnson. Some of the legislators do have my books. Well, not my books, my first book, School of Airs. So, but and I didn't send it to them either. Like I would meet with them, right, and then they would say, "Yeah, we want to get your book," and then it would usually be like their assistant would contact me and say, like, they asked to get your book. I'm like, "Yeah, here it is. Go on Amazon and get it." And um, so definitely ordering School of Airs. Yeah, Ron, School of Airs is $22 in paperback. It originally came out in hard copy for 30 and ebook for, I don't know, I never bought the ebook version. And then because it's popular, that one is internationally popular, and in the US it's popular. Um, anytime there's a Sentinel school shooting, the book sales always go up on that. Um, so that that they came out this summer and they released it in paperback to have it more accessible. And then so that's $22, and it's good, right? Because it's from a publishing house. So like it's a really good paperback. It's not where half the pages are going to fall out and it's all printed weird and stuff like that. Plus, I mean, personally, I kind of like paperback because it's just easier. I mean, um, so I have hard copies, of course, of both, but the hard copy is only $30 versus 22, but the hard copy of Philosophy of Information is like 65. And the reason they do that is they don't expect people to buy a hard copy of it, but they know that it will be a library book, an international library book, and libraries would rather buy a hard copy than paperback. Um, so yeah, no, Misty, Mrs. Wayne, we can work that out. People send me um, books on a regular basis to sign from all over the world, actually. Like I've sent books to Qatar and United Arab Emirates, and so that's usually done through like UPS. Now for the state stuff is pretty easy. So then what you could do, right, is you could just send the book to me, and if you send it mail book rate, it's like $4 to send it to me plus whatever your mailer is, but it's like $4 from USPS, and in a week it'll be here. And then I will sign it and specially stamp it, and I will gift it back to you. I'll pay the postage and I will send it to you. So I've now, like, if it's domestic, I mean, I will gladly do that. I will pay the postage and I've got some mailers and send it back to you. Now, if it's like, if you're living in Canada, it costs like $30 to send a book back. Well, I can't, I can't do that. I'm glad to package all of the stuff up, but then what people do in those cases then is um, they PayPal me. So, and it's a one-on-one thing, right? And so I don't sell books because my books are all through the publishing house. So the publishing house has the rights to sell and distribute. I don't have secondary rights to sell my books. Without I'd have to approach them and become a storefront. And then basically I'd have to um, well, actually, I don't even know if that would work, to be honest with you, because they have I I think I would be in violation of my contract if I were to, like, do that. There are some exceptions in that. If I, presented a conference and things that are it's in my contract, like the conference can order at a discount rate in bulk. So, which I've never done that, but let's say, like, they wanted everybody at the conference to have a copy of School of Airs. They could order it at a discount directly from the publisher, and it would go to whoever was putting on the conference, and then they'd give everybody a copy, and then maybe, like, I would sign it or something, which all sounds good. Like, we've never done any of that. Um, but it's cool, yeah. And you'll have a special stamp, Misty, that no one else outside of, like, having it signed by me. You'll have a special author stamp, and then I have a really unique one for School of Airs. Um, but both of them, and then of course I sign them here with the. This shouldn't be this difficult. The $400+ gold Mont Blanc pen. So $25 per refill of ink. Each one of there's two in here. It's $50. Um, this pen was used, and a friend of mine, um, he is a pen connoisseur. And when I had my first book, I wanted to get a really nice pen which would have ink, right, that would never fade, like just the. And he found this at auction, and he said, "Dude, this is the pen." And so then I bought it, and it came in its own box and stuff like that. But new, I don't know. This is probably like 600, 700. So I got it, I think, for 440. And it is an awesome pen. And then the only time and that's crazy, right? I mean, the only time I use it is to um, sign books or really official documents. They're like, holy smokes. Um, but yeah, this is gold, and it's probably worth more. Like, gold's up. But otherwise, I would never do that. That's never me. I mean, this is this is this is my pen, which my Papermate profile right here. That's what I grade papers with, or else my purple Pilot. So, but I wanted to get it because writing a book was a huge accomplishment. That was the first book, and I wanted to kind of just reward myself, right? And to do that with the pen, and even then I still did it used. But yeah, my friend, again, who knew everything, who just is like a pen expert, right? Who just I told him about it, and he was looking for a while, and then um, and I don't know, it wasn't like eBay. There was a site that had pen auctions, and he said, "Get this pen. It's incredible to write with." But I mean, so anyway, like Misty Mrs. Wayne, there's also a story behind the pen. Of it's a special thing. So I'm excited about having a book and being friends with the author. You are friends with the author, yeah. So no, it is it's cool for me to be able to sign that book and to get it, and you can show people. And um, I love book events. So when I go to a book event, and especially right when people know me, they've done a little bit of the research ahead of time where they bring in a book instead of like buying a book like at a Barnes and Noble or something. Like I think in my opener for I know in my opener for the show, there's a clip of me standing at Barnes and Noble signing a book. Um, but I've been thinking about doing, Vanessa put pics on her review, which is really nice. And then bringing the school fairs to each Board of Education meeting. So yeah, Vanessa's been a tireless champion of school affairs, and I appreciate that. Um, that is really nice. Uke, hey Doc, hey friends, I'm late to the party. Yeah, this is just a show where I'm like, tomorrow's the day. It's like 65 and humid here. It's gonna be 73 and hot tomorrow, way above normal, and then severe storms roll in after noon. So we're getting up early. My wife and I were gonna put the outside decorations, and I worked on the big metal deer tonight. Stripped the lights off of that, put new lights on it, and I've got 3 to go tomorrow morning. I'm gonna work like crazy, and then I am going to get those things staked down. And we're supposed to have high winds, maybe tornadoes tomorrow. So I don't know how well they're going to hold up. But the thing is, like, they're not going to fly in anywhere because they're like 40 pounds each. So if anything, they're just in their frames, right? So they're just going to fall over and on the ground if they do, and that's not a big deal. But after tomorrow, it'll be in the 30s and windy for like 3 days in a row. So like the wind chill will be like in single digits, and then the next 10 days are all like in the 30s. So like it's just like it's really cold to try to put out the outdoor decorations because the cords aren't very pliable and stuff like that. So like I want to get things out there tomorrow when they're still easy to move. I put a couple of cords out there tonight already. So they can kind of already start to fit the shape of they need to go across the top of the porch. And so yeah, Doc needs a quill pen and inkwell. People were trying to kind of lead me down that path initially, and I'd be like, no, that's not my thing. So, but it'd be cool, right? And I know some people who do that, but yeah, a couple of people are like, you could do that, and I'm like, no, it's actually a ballpoint pen, which Mont Blanc doesn't make many ballpoint pens. But then I ordered, the ink. Like I said, it had this whole case. Like I think it had this like list of ownership. It was the person who bought it, and then they're like when they bought it, and when you order ink from Mont Blanc, they make a big deal out of it. Like when you order it, like thank you so much for ordering this ink, and you call it in and give us the number, and it arrives in a really nice package, and it's just kind of funny because it's not me, but at the same time, I'm just appreciative of the craftsmanship and having a nice pen. And it is this thing. The book. Misty's saying, I made a post on Instagram and tagged you in it. Awesome. Thanks, Misty. So yeah, our warm spell is leaving, says Vanessa. Back to the 20s overnight. Yeah. Tonight is warm. Last night was warm. And then tomorrow is it for us. Then winter really hits. But we've made it through, November 10th being warm. Again, I don't have a fire going today, so usually I'd be burning firewood for the last few weeks. So I'm really ahead with that. So even if we have a cold stretch, like I'll end the season with firewood. I mean, I highly doubt that I'll burn everything out that I have this year because we have had these warm few weeks here. So Vanessa said, my favorite everyday pens are the Fisher Space Pen Trekker version. Yeah. Misty Mrs. Wayne. Same here, Vanessa. 2 Mars, our last, a pretty day tomorrow. And then as far as the temps start to drop. Yeah. So then like my wardrobe significantly shifts. Like I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt right now. And I'll be going into the long sleeve thermals. Like that's just every day in winter. Like that's what I wear unless I'm doing something business wise down here. And then I have the electric fireplace going. And, but I always wear a long sleeve thermal, and like I have long underwear, like thermal underwear that I wear. So, Oh god, I'm just not winter every year. It's just like, sucks. But anyway, um, Thursday night, which is tomorrow. Um, Thursday we have or tomorrow we have the legal man on. So man, that's gonna be a great show. 30-year attorney, and that guy is on fire. So the Quash is podcast, and especially after the election, man, that guy's going to have a lot of energy. And then Monday night we have Lisa Lenny talking about the law of necessity, and then the 21st we have Mike Dahl. So great guests coming on. I appreciate also everybody who uh, came into the show on Monday for my birthday, celebrating 51, and Ron and Coop coming onto the show, and we were talking about the Ghostbusters bike, and you have all these cool things. So that was a fun day. So I had a good time. I'm actually glad my birthday was a day before the election because, um, you know, the election stuff was just kind of wearing on me, and the commercials just kind of irritate me. And um, but so now I'm getting removed, and I don't want to get into a lot of the election stuff. But you, so anyway, Rain Veterans Day. It was called for snow. So yeah, our Veterans Day will be cold. We could have like a little bit of light snow, but it's too warm for anything to stick right now. It'll take another, probably 3, 4 days before any snow would actually be able to stick because, right, the pavement, I mean, it was 70 today, be 70 tomorrow, is going to have radiant heat for, a few days. Um, Military base let me buy a cold weather outer jacket in the new camo pattern. Oh, wow. Yeah. As a kid, I never would wear a winter stocking hat and a knit hat because it wasn't cool. It messed with my hair. But now, of course, I always do. And I have like big chopper thermal gloves if it gets really cold out. They're not mitts, they're not gloves. And then I have to put in my fingerless um, mitts or gloves, fingerless gloves in my car. I don't have a heated steering wheel or anything, but the SUV has all that heated seats, which is actually really cool. Um, but I don't drive a lot in winter anyway. But in my car, I need that because I'm old and I need. I don't want to. It does make a difference. So, but I have to check to make sure that I think I have my snow scraper, but yeah. I need to order my brass embossing plate of my company logo soon. This is Vanessa. I'll be stamping leather coasters, etc. I can brand with the brass version. That's very cool. Vanessa, when you get that up and running, let me know. Like maybe send me a link or an email because one thing I do need to order are coasters um, that for my office because when I work, well, kind of anytime, but the humidity, right? Just the way things are, you get the water to kind of, well, everybody knows what a coaster is for, right? So here I am trying to explain like a common concept that everybody in the chat is well versed in. It's not for you, it's me because I'm just, I, it's something I do, right? But I am, but I need to get a set of coasters. I think leather coasters would do the job because the traditional like plastic or ceramic coasters and that stuff. And also like I don't want something if it falls off, you pick it up and it sticks to the bottom, then it falls off. I don't want it hitting the tile or not the tile, but the wood laminate floor. Um, so anyway, if it's like a leather coaster you're talking about, um, for, you know, Mountain Dew bottle or my stainless steel um, canteen water thing or whatever. Um, that'd be cool. So let me know. I'd like to order some of those. Because yeah, It's the missing piece down here. So this microphone's getting pretty damn invasive. It's like sneaking up on me. The thing is, like, it works really well, but the foam covering here is for the companion of this, the 7B, and this is the 7A. So it's a little larger. It does work on this one just fine, but it's just a little bit. So it throws me off. What it does though is it knocks down the plosives, which I really like. So there we go. Leather stamp maker makes the logo, then makes a cutting form for it. You stamp the logo, then next die. Cut. Oh, mine will be the coaster round cut school. We'll tell you what, Vanessa, when you get some of those going, please like send me an email, right? And with a photo of a few of them, so I have an idea and like the size, maybe, because I'm very interested in getting a set. It's something I need, and yeah, I don't have anything down here now. And then the others, the stuff that I've tried hasn't worked very well. So what you're describing, I think, would be perfect for down here. Cool. There's always Amazon, Ron. Look at you guys. So, what shape coaster and diameter would you like? Yeah, I'll pay you for this. Like, just show me some ideas. Like maybe round, and diameter, 5 inches. I think so. 4 or 5 inches, maybe 4 inches. I guess whatever makes sense for a coaster. So I don't have a ruler nearby, but like this thing, right? So this heavy duty thing like this, I'm guessing that's 3 inches on the bottom. So probably between or at least four. Um, so yeah, I don't know what the size is that those come in. So I think a little bit bigger would be good, except if it was too big, then I think it would kind of fold up on the sides. So I don't know. I'm sure there's maybe kind of like a standard, but yeah, once you get it, yeah, give me an idea, or just like of the die, or like just something in paper, like just drawn out of saying like here's the size of it, like with a ruler next to it or something to show like the size. Not that I need anything like super specific, right? But I've learned when I do stuff like that, to throw a ruler down and take a picture of things to give people a concept. If I need something repaired, or like when I was working on the concrete stuff in that project, to throw a tape measure down when you're taking a picture. So then you also have some scale to what's going on. So Vanessa, my mom worked for the Stone Coaster Company, Thirsty Stone in Tucson. Wow. Cool. Now see, that stuff is some cool stuff. So when people come into the show, if you've not been here and you come into the show, does it run ads at the start? So because the show's been monetized now since Monday, and I don't know how the ad. I know when I go to other shows, like if the show's already started, it'll run an ad. I just don't know if it does that for this. I'm still trying to figure out what this all means and does. Oh yeah, okay. So look at Ron. You watched 2 ads coming, probably for belts. So yeah, there are two belt ads right here for. Okay, so it does. So that's cool. Yeah, that's neat. So I have a really, so the thumbnail for the show, that is the larger doe deer that I put the lights on tonight. So in the front of my garage. So ads on entry thus far. Good. Well, not good. I'm not trying to over add everybody, right? But yeah, I'm just trying to see if it's set up and then I had to go in and it was asking me some questions and things. But um, so that's cool. I had a YouTube short of Bojangles, and that was had 2,000 views. Put that one out there yesterday. So 28-pound cat. That guy's got a lot of airtime. So, um, which brings that helps because it brought the show. The show now has 72. The channel has 72,277 views. So that's good because I think once you get to 100,000 views, it starts to benefit your algorithm. So um, the show's doing really well. So tomorrow night too, like if you have a question for the legal man, jump in and put it in there. So we're starting off with citizen's arrest, and so this is he's going to legal man probably flat out doesn't want to spend a lot of time there. And I said, I get it, but that's also like the show thumbnail and the searchable. And and it's like on the books in Wisconsin, you can do a citizen's arrest. And so like I copied down the one police department here and it says, you probably don't want to do it like legally. There's a lot of downside to that, but you could. And so there are some things like, you have to see the person doing this. And if you deem like there's like if someone is trying to like kidnap somebody or, they stab somebody and run off and you can detain them before they hurt other people but then how do you defend yourself, or what do you say when the police arrive, and what do you say to your attorney, or what is your attorney going to say to a judge? How do you actually successfully use that? And so I think it's going to be a good show. And then also he wants to talk about juries and kind of like how that really works and how to position yourself. And then we're going to get into, some of the stuff that's going on politically and how to have the most kind of local impact and understand politically, and again, where to position yourself to be in the least confrontational area with our current politics. The dude is sharp. He's got, his show, The Quash. He's a writer, again, a lawyer for 30 years. And I think, so any questions you come up with, but yeah. And then there's certain rules. Like I didn't know this, like if you subdue somebody, you can't use excessive force. You have to, which I guess I knew, but you have to use enough force to contain them, but not more. So what does that really count on? And then you're supposed to say, I'm putting you under citizen's arrest. So like all things I didn't know. And in some states, you don't even have to see the person committing the crime. So, like somebody comes out of a house with a bloody knife after someone's been screaming or whatever, you can have enough to maybe like do a citizen's arrest. I mean, it's not legal advice, right? But we're just trying to figure out, like, a lot of this stuff is still on the books. And, but any of us could be in a situation, right, where there might be some weird scenario where you would feel you'd be compelled to do that. Again, think of someone who is trying to kidnap somebody, right? And then by you subduing them, you're also keeping them from potentially kidnapping somebody else, right? So there's an argument with that. So I don't know. I hope the Quash, I hope the legal man doesn't get upset with me and be like, come on. But yeah, if you have questions, be thinking about them. So yeah, Home Depot ad, and then a university ad. So, okay. College ad. So Ron Wayne, he's just enrolled. So a master of Ron Wayne. So it's one of the degrees you can get through. So yeah, I was debating whether to do a sit down with the university with the dean and say, hey, like I want to teach one or two more classes. And, but I decided not to do that. Like I pushed out my university teaching a little bit, but I just thought, Yeah, I don't know. By diversifying back into consulting, 'cause I make more money if I do the consulting. So not everything's about money. I love my university teaching. I'm not looking to decrease, but if I'm trying to hedge a little bit against the economy and inflation stuff by picking up another class, that's not really the way to do it. By firing back up the consulting business, that definitely is the way to do it. Um, so that's what I'm trying to do. Um, so yeah, and Coop, actually on Monday night, Lisa Lenny, who's been on the show before, she's an attorney in Houston, and Lisa's going to come on. And Lisa's a blast. Lisa's going to come on and talk about the law of necessity and also the Good Samaritan. And again, Lisa's a lot of fun. Um, so we're going to get into these things. Like again, what happens if you got to break the law to prevent something potentially much worse from happening? Um, and the whole Good Samaritan thing, what, because when I talked to Lisa about putting the show together, my perception was I think there are fewer people willing to help out um, if something is going down, right? And now I'm not saying like something like a let's say a car, you come over a hill and there's a car flipped over in a ditch. Like more people would maybe pull over and call 911, but not get out and check on the vehicle. Is that because people are afraid? I don't know if this was part of a road rage thing and I don't want to get involved in it. I mean, which is legit. But and I also think there's this part where people are like, I don't want to get involved because um, I don't know where the Good Samaritan law starts and ends. Like, what if I move somebody and they come back and say, if because you did this, now I have this, lifelong nerve damage or whatever. Um, so where does this start and end? I guess, and then I think it's really strange that we don't have public service announcements about like Good Samaritan law. Like I remember the 30-second, things that used to be on TV or even a minute, like that there from time to time it just doesn't air saying, hey, don't forget, like in Kentucky, the Good Samaritan law, you know, is if you try to help somebody who's, been injured or, right, like someone is choking, you do a Heimlich and you end up breaking their one of their ribs or something, but you save them, or even if unfortunately you don't save them, like you're trying to, like, but I think there needs to be some national or maybe state level, because I think it's a little different state by state, but something like that. There really needs to be um, on an annual basis some just, or it comes through on your phone. We got all these ads on election stuff, but I just think it's one of those things that's missing. No one's ever really taught about the Good Samaritan law, or if they are, it's kind of a one-off. Maybe I don't remember ever being taught about the Good Samaritan law, um, or the law of necessity. So I think those will be cool. I think we have like a terrific, you know, two shows in front of us, and then of course Mike Dahl. So if you think about esports, Wisconsin esports, and national esports, Mike is like one of the biggest figures on a national stage. A week ago, he got called and they're like, "Hey, can you come down? There's a conference in Orlando, big conference, and we're like, we want you to come down and present. We'll fly you down, get on a plane tomorrow." And he's like, "Sure." Mike is like this the face kind of high school esports across the country. Just a great guy too. And and so I got to know him because I wanted to know more about it for my class, and then I and I said, I'd love to have you on the show. And man, the guy is like all the time doing stuff with esports, and we found this date that worked for him. So I'm just like, thank you. I still have to take up Danny Woodburn, Mickey Abbott from Seinfeld, on his offer to be on the show. You know, so weird. Like you have a celebrity, right? A friend also, but who says, I'll be on your show. And I'm like, okay, dude. And then like I never got back to him to set up the date and time. So, I guess part of that on my thing was I didn't wanna, like, overstep of, like, our friendship and kind of exploit it to have a celebrity on the show. But at the same time, he said yes, so I think he could have just said, "Ah, kinda not what I'm doing," and I'd be like, "Okay." And then I have, one of my friends who played in the NFL, for 8 seasons for some different teams. He will come on the show. I've gotta connect up with him again. We had this all roughed out, then it just I don't know what went on, but, anyway, he's gonna come on the show and talk about when he got brought into the NFL, and then he served in this capacity, I think, with the team after he retired, like, to help the new players, how to handle the fame, right? And the money, but not really money. It's not like a financial guy, but how to handle suddenly, yeah, you're very popular and high profile, and what that means for you, and then also what it means for your family, like in your family, as far as like your parents, right? Who might live in Wisconsin in his case, which they did. He played, for an NFL team in different states, but all the things that go on behind the scenes that he can share, and I think that's gonna be a fascinating story of like celebrity safety, um, because as he said, and they do a better job at this now because he'll also tell you about when he got into the league versus what they do now. But you're largely on your own. I mean, there were a few things they did, but there was a kind of a I don't know if it was a class or an in service when you first get into the NFL, and they're like, here's the way people are going to try to extort you for money, and they're going to say you did certain things, and they're going to go to your parents' place and fall on their sidewalk, and um, so and all these things too of like be careful when people ask for pictures with you. I know that burned quite a few people because they get pictures and then it turns out to be someone who's affiliate with some really crazy organization, or that they end up taking someone takes a picture and then they end up putting it in a calendar or something, and it looks like it's affiliated with this person and it's not. So that is, I mean, it's become pretty ubiquitous. So there are ways that they coach players specifically on what to do in those situations. Um, but that's why it's best, for pitchers and that, of course, to like you said, always be like at an event, and be like with some recognizable background that you're standing in front of, and things like this. But otherwise, someone just meets you at the airport and say, "Oh my goodness, you're Ron Wayne. Can I get a picture?" And pretty soon they got a picture of you. So and so Vanessa's saying I may begin tutoring math courses online. I need to register my company here in Connecticut. Yeah, I registered. My company is here I'm registered in Wisconsin. So my company has nothing to do with my name. Nothing to do with Safety Doc. So I made it very obscure because I didn't want it to be any. I didn't want it to be anywhere affiliate with the other personas that I use. So just so it's a real generic thing. So but that was done on purpose. So same with first aid when you help people in distress. Vanessa, right on, right? Wouldn't it make sense? And this is its own show, right? Like we should have a show on this. Why don't we publicly have a public campaign for the benefit of everybody, right? And it says, yeah, like here's first aid, when to do first aid. An orb? Where is an orb? Oh Lord, is the haunting starting down here again? Oh no. It's disheartening. Disheartening. Oh no. Well, let me know if you guys saw it. See a ghost in the background. So um but yeah, we should have a national week. Actually, it should be a month because I mean, like, there's food allergy month, but which is April. Flew in front of the mic. Oh Lord, so it's bad. It's bad. Um, but we should have a national week where it's here's the deal, like for Good Samaritan law, some refreshers, and like when it's okay to administer first aid, right? And just not, I guess, answer these frequently asked questions. Oh, like if I administer first aid to this person, could I get in trouble? Right? Like they fall down and they're bleeding, and I compress a towel against their head. They cut their forehead or something, and then um, and so like all of that, or what to do like on an accident, like try to get somebody's name, or like write down the time, because then if you're somebody emergency responders come on scene, they'll be like, well, how long have you been with this person? Do you know when this started? Like those are all things like we spend so much money on these other things. Like food allergy month is definitely worth it. I'm not saying that that's not worth it, but shouldn't we have like a public safety month? I'm not talking. I guess what I'm talking about there is like public. It's not even public safety as much as it's uh, I don't know, public. I don't know the word I'm looking for. It kind of goes in with the Good Samaritan thing and things, but safety sounds a little broad for that. Um, but there should be some campaign like that. There should be these 30-second things of, hey, like a question. Oh, it's okay to administer first aid, or um, I just it just kind of blows my mind that we don't have that. So I don't know who I could bring in and talk to about that, but yeah, Coop. If I'm rendering first aid and I put a tourniquet around someone's neck, my at fault. So, oh my goodness, that's like an SNL skit right there. Back when SNL was funny, not now. It's gotten even worse. But um, Vanessa has self systems and educational learning functions. That's cool. USDA and Department of Commerce wanted me to work for them after retiring. Whoa, very cool, Vanessa. Yeah. Um, I'm good. So Monday, I will feel out with one of my previous clients, companies I worked for during the pandemic when I was doing consulting for special ed stuff. Um, what I charged them back then versus what I would charge them now, I'm not sure. I haven't quite figured that out. It would be more obviously now with inflation, although like this hasn't changed a lot for me. Like it's still down here in the studio. Um, but but obviously the cost here of the North Star recording studio have gone up, power and stuff like that, of course. But I don't know what to come out with on a quote, because obviously you start what you think is appropriate, but on the high end of appropriate. Um, so I've been kind of working those numbers a little bit, seeing what I want to do for uh for a contract there. But um, so they were really interested. Well, of course, they didn't want me to leave after. I mean, when I said I was done in the summer of 2021, I just said I've got other things I want to do, right? And had the book I had to get ready for publication in September, and I said, we've had a good. It ended on really good terms. Um, so, but they really were like, what can we do to like keep the partnership going? And like, it just nothing. You just got to move on to somebody else. And but then the fact when I contacted him and said, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this again, and you're one of the most prominent clients as far as like most of my time was with you. Just wondering if where you're at, because if I start this up, I liked working with you, um, and immediately they were like, yes. And I think the only thing they asked for is, can you submit an updated Vita resume to us? Um, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'll send something off. But so then, like, yeah, I mean, you're not going through any like HR hiring process because they already had you on staff, right? So contract with you. So basically, they just need the updated stuff, and then it's all phone call. I thought they would do like a Zoom because that's how we used to always do things, but they have a phone call set up. Um, but they were right on top of that. Boom, like, can we do? I think they wanted to do it like that day, and I was like, well, man, I'm not ready, quite ready for that, you know. So what works for you? And they said Monday, and I said, okay, I've got a meeting Monday morning. So they said, how about like first thing in the afternoon? And I'm like, yep, sounds good. So um, I'm kind of excited about it. I am because I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed working with them. That was all good stuff. But I stopped doing that again because I, you know, needed to finish up the velocity of information and also kind of just take a break from things after the pandemic. But now it's again, I've been reevaluating things, and I'm like, I just don't know with the economy. You know, it's you can get a side hustle going, and the consulting thing, was a really good, I guess, side hustle. Um, I am going to want to bring that back, and I've always found too, like it's easier for me to write the books, for example, if I'm doing other stuff at the same time, which kind of seems to contradict itself. Like, if you just had like a year off, it would be easier to write, but that's not how my brain works. Like, I need to be doing a lot of stuff, and that's I'm kind of my best for writing. So I need to get in there and start chopping away at that third book, which is going to be called School Safety in America: Rhetoric versus Reality, which is the same title I had for my PBS presentation, but PBS doesn't own the title, and it's also not a book. So, and it's not about what I presented on PBS. So there's no problem with any of that. Um, but it's just a good title. It's a good title, and I've roughed it out a couple times and things like that. So, um, Koopa's saying, as a civilian, if they were such a deadly threat that I had to use deadly force, why would I then go to do first aid on them? Yeah, it's kind of how the police do things. So depends on the situation. Most of them are more than one person assaulting you. So, that's an interesting question for tomorrow. So let's say with the legal man, you do end up um, restrain him, or restrain, not the legal man, but you restrain somebody who was involved in an attempted kidnapping, but then at the same time, like, maybe you didn't do it, but they got injured in this process, right? So as they were trying to do the kidnap, like they slipped and they hit their head and they're like gushing out blood. Like, as you're restraining them, do you also have an obligation to render a first aid? You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know on these things, but um, I think, I mean, he'll have a lot of examples, right? That he's just going to pull out and say, like, boom, like here's this and this and this, and ultimately, I mean, I think he'll say, like, just don't do this. But I don't think it's as easy as that, right? I think there could be a situation any of us face where there would be a split second where it would be like, but right, if you apprehend this person or take them into your custody on citizen's arrest, and they are, again, like, take someone who attempts to kidnap somebody, and the thought is that maybe there's young kids around, it's near a school. If they get away, they could just grab somebody else, right? um, so there is this, if you, in that scenario, like if you're right there and they try to do this, um, because I think it's one thing, like, if they're trying to run away and you're like, "They're getting out of here," but what if they're running toward, like, another crowd of a group of kids on a playground and they could just, like, grab a kid and take him to their vehicle? I just said there's scenarios where this is plausible, and then you'd have to figure out how would you actually again, like, you come to him and say, "Dude, you're my lawyer. This is what I did. This is why I did it." And then he'd have to be like, "Okay, I'm gonna game plan it. Here's how we're going to talk to the judge or the district attorney," right? Um, and then we're and so, like, maybe help me out a little bit when we're in the show because I wanna have a little bit of a discussion on this, before we get into the other things. And so questions of like, so again, if he's representing, what are things ahead of time, like that if I would have done them would have made his job easier, right? So if I'm like, yes, I did say citizen's arrest, and you're not always going to have a camera on you, but what if there was a camera or there's some footage of the playground area and it shows like the stuff, or like how do you as far as like using your force, or should you document immediately afterwards what happened in writing, or should you like pull out your phone with a audio recorder, right, app, and say, boom, like, the police, whatever, they're out of here, but like 10 minutes ago I just did this, and police are probably going to be asking you questions, and what should you answer, versus like saying you're going to get a lawyer. Now, I know one of the things is like the Ahmaud Arbery case might come up, and I don't want to go in that direction um, with this show. And that's already been a case that's been heard, and um, I I think there could be a tendency. So I will steer us away from any of those questions. Um, but I also want to get back to this fact that um, citizens arrest is on the books and I'm not saying citizens arrest where you are using a um, firearm or even necessarily a weapon with a citizen's arrest. But I'm going to use that scenario that of that kidnapping. Um, so so yeah. CNT, you go to help DA says, if you were so scared, why did you get close enough to help them? You get close and they stab you. So these are the things. I mean, Coop, like you're you're on par with the thinking for this, right? These are the questions that I want the legal man, you know, if there's a situation, right? Ultimately, if there's a situation and you can not be a part of it, that's probably the best scenario, right? If you cannot be involved in it. But what if there is a situation where, you know, you are involved? So Vanessa saying, I got that lady assaulting me to get back outside. She still proceeded on the assault. My right arm got pulverized and the hit as pedestrian a week later. Wow. So, um, yeah. And if citizens arrest like is as maybe useless as what I've done a lot of research, what most people will say it is, like police sites that have it up, and but there's lawyers too though who have it up on their website of saying, does it exist? And yes, it does in our state, or no, it doesn't. Like, if it was that awful, why does it still exist? So why does it's just not stricken from the books, right? In Wisconsin, it's completely wide open. It's up to your discretion. There are parameters that they are out there. Like, you have to see it. Some states you don't have to see it happen, but I just think this is a really good show. It's a great topic. I think this show's going to get a lot of views after it's once it's we're done with it and it shows up in searches because I've tagged it out really well. I did a nice blog post for it. So I just think a lot of people are going to have this question and want to hear it like from an attorney, just to have an attorney opine on it a little bit and say, and I want to be that. I want to be the dude, right, who comes in and I'll say, listen, legal man, you are my attorney. This is what I did. And I declared a citizen's arrest. I'm paying you and I need you to help me with the defense. So boom, take it away. Like, where would you go with this? what gives us the best chance? And forensically, like looking back, what could I have done, or what maybe something I did do, which gives me a better chance? And yeah, I get that this is going to be subjective to the judge and maybe a jury, but like, right, here's where we're at. We got to play the hand we're dealt. So, um, yeah. Wow. Vanessa saying she was a felon on parole, sent back to prison awaiting trial. Yeah. I think there's another part of this too. And maybe we can get in that with the legal man, because I think the legal man might answer this um, a little with a little more depth than Lisa Lenny, because Lisa is a procedural attorney, not necessarily like a criminal attorney. So maybe you want to bring this up tomorrow too, if I forget about it. But I think, like, to what degree can defend yourself? I don't want to go down necessarily like to have this about weapons and 2A, but if you're being um, even what force can you use to get yourself out of a situation? You're um, you know you're in a store parking lot, right? And somebody tackles you to the ground or something like that, and they're for whatever, like, what force do you what to get out of that? And then someone's like, as Doc was trying to get out of that, like, he broke the person's arms, right? And I don't know. I think there's some other parts that I believe the legal man would be able to jump in on. Like a question, I think a question for the legal man, and if you brought it up, I would put it in the chat thing, is what okay, legal man, and I think we have to give these questions to him, not to have him um, tell you what to do, but say, I did this, and then say, okay, as a lawyer, here's how I would probably approach it. Then I think it's safe for him to do that. Not that I think he's like, he'll just say like, I can't answer that or whatever. But um, I think a scenario of saying, I was driving and then a protest started to become violent. I was locked into this area. I didn't know that this was happening. It really suddenly it was moving toward me. What do, and then as I drove out of there, right? But as I drove, I, either it could be you hit somebody, you damaged property, you hit another car and that person was injured, right? As you're trying to get out of there. Because like what the insurance companies tell you is, and I checked into this, um, they were saying, if you abandon your car, you're just kind of giving up the property. Like, we don't have to cover, we won't probably cover a vehicle that you just abandoned, right? But it's your call. Which, if you're going to abandon your vehicle, now if you're in a vehicle, you're expected to use appropriate, um, right? You can't break the law while you're in a vehicle. It's kind of law of necessity, though. So what if you spin your car around, but in the process you hit another car and then that person's like, oh, I got like, whiplash now, but you're doing that to get out of there because these people you can see are damaging other vehicles and it's angry. And so kind of that preservation aspect, like how do you, um, so again, I want to set these up, these scenarios like they've already happened, and then say, okay, but now I'm coming to you. I just contacted you, legal man, and I'm saying, here's what happened. And I'm pretty sure, like I'm not pretty sure, but I know I hit a car as I was getting out of there, and I couldn't check on them, right? Because like this whole situation was unstable, and I was fearing for myself and people in the car, and to get them to safety. And I'm telling you all this happened. So now what do we do? So as my attorney, so I got to be smart on that, because when I was going through my last class, I had to teach people, because I said, when you try to teach people these scenarios, like in a school, like this case study, oh, the kid wanders off, the kid with autism wanders off. Do you go to trespass to find them, or do you not, or do you use a drone? You always have to have the situation where it's you don't have them speculate the what ifs. You have to give them kind of a played out scenario. Like, this has happened, the kid's gone. And it's the same thing when I do this tomorrow, and also with Lisa, is it can't be like, "What if this happened?" It would have to be like, "This happened." And it's a scenario, it's not real, but let's say this happened, right? What do you do then? So then you can have a question too in the chat, like, "Yeah, I came up and, Vanessa, I administered first aid to somebody, um, or, you know, in doing a chest compression, I think I broke a rib. I heard a snap, right, or something like that. Or I put a tourniquet on because they had a cut, or I tried to, that was, and but of but then maybe too much circulation was cut off. But right there's a tourniquet because they were bleeding on. I mean, whatever it is. So I'm going to give these scenarios and say again, did this, so coming to you here, boom, as my attorney, what might be ways that we put this defense together. And so I don't know. Be interesting. He's big time. I'm really um I'm honored that he came on the show. So I know him through some other bigger channels. And like I said, he has a massive following on social media, his own show. Like he's really well known, well established. Um, so when he agreed to come on the show, I was like, holy smokes, because I didn't know if he would. Like, and and so Koopa's saying, I think about that a lot. A lot of us carry guns, conceal every day. What happens if someone jumps you, gets on you, and you have to fight them, and they go for your gun? Yeah, that's right on. So we'll see where um, Legal Man goes with tomorrow, because I don't want to bring him into a lot of talking about 2A, because he focuses a big part of his show on like government overreach and how issues with jury trials, right? So I want to really get him into his area, but he does know we're going to get in. And Coop, what you're saying is right on. I have the same question. Um, I do want to have. He knows we're going to go with citizen's arrest. So um, can't speak as a paralegal or anything, but my martial arts school took its cue from the police and taught to one of escalations of violence. So yeah. And I think that comes into citizen's arrest, right? Like, what do you? So it's this whole thing. Like, you can use equal the force necessary to detain them, but what if they keep ratcheting it up, right? But again, like, this is the person who, if you let them go, like, they could kidnap somebody else, or they're just. Um, how far can you reasonably ratchet it up? And again, here you are. You're my attorney, and I did this. Like, I took my leather belt off from you know Mernicles, and I used that then to uh, you know tie their arms behind their back, and then I was holding them on their side or something, whatever it is. But I'm monitoring them. But they were, because I was I needed that, like, um, I don't know. And I mean, again, and these are all just questions because the laws exist, but they don't really define this. Texas, you can use deadly force for a person to leave your property. So, yeah. So I think the scenarios here, like, this person wants to take off. So they're not trying to engage you, but you are saying if they leave, I believe they will be threats to other people and young kids, right? So I'm detaining them through citizen's arrest. So yeah, Uke, Uke. I've been there for a while. What do you do when someone who's assaulting you doesn't stop till you're seriously injured? Yeah. If I restrain my attacker with fuzzy handcuffs, does that make me weird? No. So I was surprised back in, I don't know if I was surprised. I guess. Um, I got the answer I expected, which really wasn't any answer at all. But when I taught my fall superintendent class, fall of 2021, no, fall of 2020, after riots in the summer of 2020, and I had a case study, and the case study was that you had high school students who went to a tennis match. They were in the school van. Now, as they're coming back through a city, they're suddenly in the middle of a protest, right? Um, and the protest group is approaching the van, and they appear to be getting more aggressive and violent with vehicles in front of the van. What do you're the superintendent, you get a call, and it's the driver, it's the golf coach, and the golf coach says, I've got 7 players in here, like high school kids, and this is what's happening. I can't move. I'm totally kind of boxed in here. Um, I've got maybe 60 seconds before this mob is up to me. I call the police. I'm not getting through. No one is entering on dispatch or whatever. Um, what should I do? You're the soup and you get that call. What would you say? Right? Would you say, get out of there with the kids, run and just leave the van and we'll just deal with it? And so, like, I would ask the soups, go ask your attorneys, your school attorney, or go ask your school insurance carrier, like, what you would do. And they never got a response on that. The only response was, um, if you willingly leave the vehicle, then it wasn't covered. So, but there was no one was going to touch it with a 10-foot pole of saying, here's, here's what you should do, right? Here's what you should say back to that person. So, and it was very relevant, because it's that person using hopefully their discretion, their best interests. But then there wasn't an attorney out there willing to touch that. I might bring that up to the legal man too and say, I find a lot of things that I do. Attorneys for schools will try not to answer those questions. So, like the administering of the CBD oil, that probably won't be one I'll use, but the CBD oil for the 5-year-old girl with Dravet syndrome, I'm going to do a show on that. And the legal counsel just kind of said, well, it's the policy of the school, whatever. And versus like a common sense approach. And well, I guess if there is 0.3 THC, which would be very unlikely, but anyway, we'll see. Ron Wayne, that was my line of thinking. So, Vanessa, my bullwhip hangs at my exit door for good reason. It's Indiana Jones, Vanessa. Ron Wayne, they'd probably be more scared of the handcuffs, Scoop. So, remember in Fletch Lives when Fletch got put in prison? Or jail, local jail. Yeah, the first time, but Uke, my bullwhip. Oh my goodness, you guys. So, let me do a little up and down the dial here. It's good. I was in a bad mood today. I'm not going to lie to you. The election threw me. I just was not. I was. Oh my God. So Ron just sent me the picture of the orbs. That is not. I don't have any front lighting on at all, dude. I've got no lighting except what's coming down from up above. It would have had to throw it back off of the screen, but like these aren't gloss screens. All 3 of my screens are. There's nothing. I've never seen that. That looks like it came out of the movie Poltergeist. Yeah, because it wouldn't. Yeah, and see that also looks like it's incandescent light, and I have LEDs up above. So that's what this room is lit with, is 2 strands of, and they're within they're tube lights, right? They're fluorescent lights, but they replaced them, so now there's not even like a point of light like an incandescent bulb. There's nothing like that down here. That's weird, because yeah, those are the ones in front of me Then the two are back on the plaque. Although they seem to be throwing light down here. I can't show you. I don't have the feature on to throw the image up, but the other one is in front of me. It's in front. There's actually another one about right here on the mic, small orb, which would be. Oh, what the hell? Wait a second. That's your wife holding up the book. I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't paint my nails. Oh my goodness. That's Misty Mrs. Wayne. I'm sorry. So, I thought it was you guys are showing me the picture of the orbs. And I see and I'm looking at this and I'm like, what the hell? And then I didn't even realize like there's a hand in there. You're like, no, that is actually taken. That's a it's a hand of a poltergeist. So you guys had me going. Whew. Wow. Well, that's awesome. Holding up the book. See, that's awesome. Like that would be a photo to put when you do your book review. You could put that one up. So whenever you leave a review, if you put a photo up of the book or a photo in general with the review, it those reviews get many more thumbs up. Holy smokes. Misty, you freaked me out. I was totally, holy smokes. It's poltergeist. I know like the scene from Poltergeist, like that. What's happening here? So, and then finally I look and I'm like, oh no, it's a picture that. So now I feel better. Oh my god. Yeah, it's Ben. Yep, that was it, Ron. Remember that? Yep. Ben, good to meet you. So move here to Tennessee and you'll be in a better mood. Yeah. Got better politics. I was maybe it's just a double whammy. It's the ending of summer. Although like I feel we've gotten a bonus, you know. Again, we'll be 10 days in, 70 degrees tomorrow. Like this is good stuff. We had a really nice Halloween as far as, very warm, not rainy. So I feel like I am like I feel things are anyway, that feels good. But the politics stuff and then just the whole stretch of 10 days of 30 degrees and it's gonna just set in. It's gonna be cold. And of course we're getting into winter. And I'm not a big fan, by the way, of holidays. Um, I'm not a big fan of Thanksgiving and Christmas and just all of that stuff. I'm not big into the big family gatherings. It's not that I don't like people. It's just I don't get into that. So maybe it makes me antisocial. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of people that feel the same way. I am kind of an introvert, but also like, talking with groups of people and being on PBS TV and doing presentations, books, saying like, I love all that stuff. That's good. But I just don't like that. So, once we get past Christmas, then it's kind of like, oh, we got a break from the gatherings and stuff. I'm not into that. And of course, kind of made to be, you feel bad because you're not really into that. Oh, we're going to whoever's place for whatever. I'm like, but I don't, I've, now that I'm older, I'm like, again, it's not because I don't like people or these people. It's just like, I don't like these types of things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, unless you guys are like, yes, come on, Doc. It's antisocial, man. You gotta get with it. So, Yuka's saying, yeah, that sort of thing started in the 90s. There was a court case caught national attention where burglar injured themselves breaking into a home, successfully sued the owners. I think I remember that one. Right. I remember a case where they were injured coming into a chimney, right, which isn't a normal way that you enter a house unless you're Santa. But yeah. But it's one of these things you just don't know, and I think the legal man will underscore this. You don't know how a judge or a DA is going to rule on this stuff, right? Or a jury. And I think a jury is, I think one of the things, most stuff never gets to a jury, but what if you get an activist DA or a judge, right? Or man, I just to think how they're going to interpret the law is going to be what you anticipate. And so that's where, especially with the legal man, because he speaks about that often of how laws are interpreted and actions are interpreted, and the disconnect between what the intent, right, of the law is. It's kind of the extent taken, and it's kind of these personal agendas and political agendas that people have in ideologies. So, like, you've got to, you know, you can do everything right and still end up with a judge saying nope, or a DA. Um, so, like, where do you position yourself in the best situation to give your attorney a chance to, you know, help you out of that, not out of something, not get a like get a escape warranted consequences, but just when the law isn't being applied the way it should be applied. So, um, so you're saying you didn't schedule your visit to the local pumpkin patch 3 months in advance? No. Fun fact: this is Ron Wayne. All of the no trespassing signs are upside. So you saw that? Yes. Get this, man. That sign was right side up. Like when I went by a week later. So um, somebody went over there and fixed it. So yeah, it's a big thing. When I grew up, my grandparents had 40 acres and of wooded land, and they always had people trespassing out there. So like you'd be out there and say, "Hey, did you get permission from Emerson to be out here?" "Oh yeah, yeah, whatever." And you're like, "Pretty sure you didn't." So I remember that as a kid, but yeah. But they did trespass to fix it. So they trespassed to fix the sign. I'm guessing it had to be the person that owns the property, because who else would bother out there? Um, God, I miss biking. So, I mean, that's right on a really nice path, and just those days, you know, 70 start at 70 already in the morning. It gets to be in the 80s and sun's out forever, man. Those are just great. Farmers working the fields, getting the crops planted. So, oh my goodness, you guys, have you watched the movie Captain Phillips? I haven't. So, I've not watched Captain Phillips. When I got hit as a pedestrian in Tucson, I got out of ICU in 7 days. All the trees in the median were down to a stump. Holy smokes. Jim is a big fan of Captain Phillips. Here, I trying to figure out double check the weather radar stuff. I got to make sure tomorrow. The humidity is 77% right now. What time is it going to start raining tomorrow? Steady rain in the evening. Well, that's actually good though. Hail is possible tomorrow. Yeah, that could be bad. Um, yeah, it looks like we're good till about between 1 and 2. So, yeah. I mean, it's not going to take us that long to get stuff out there tomorrow. I've already got the deer in the garage and the one I've got all ready to go. So, I don't know. Ahoy. So, um, dun-dun. So here's the deal for tomorrow. 7 o'clock. That's the time that worked for um, The Legal Man. So we're going a little bit earlier. I'm guessing that show won't go real long. I mean, it'll go at least an hour, but it won't be like an all nighter. Um, and if you have questions, like put them in the chat, right? Or when you're monitoring, that too. Like if I'm missing something, he's an energetic guy. And again, uh, I want to I want to be able to bring up some scenarios to him. So I think like, we've talked about some of those. Um, and I think another question is, does does it should you what do you think about putting camera in your car, right? So there are attorneys on YouTube, right, who say like you should have a camera in your car, like, to record everything. Um, and car, so looking out, like because if you hit somebody or they you hit you or whatever, like this is evidence, and otherwise it's your word against theirs, and forensics trying to figure out. So like where do you stand on that? And but if you have questions you're thinking of, and or some scenario of a citizen's arrest, and we'll probably try to keep it away from 2A, because I don't want to bring him into that area, because I didn't really prepare him for that. Not that he's not prepared for it, but like we agreed on three things that we agreed on. Um, this would be citizen's arrest, jury trials, which he loves to talk about, and then also government overreach. So those are the three things. So as respect to my guest, I don't want to bring him into other areas that we haven't prepped for ahead of time. Um, but yeah, let's and I'm excited. So that's going to be awesome. So, um, yeah. Let's see. Me and the wife have talked about getting dash cams. Yeah, Coop. I think it's a good idea. I'm surprised, like our current vehicle, the one, our 2022, doesn't have one. But I think the thing is, like, I don't want one where I have to plug it into a lighter. I want one that I could run off of a charger, or rechargeable batteries, or a USB, but then it would be up there, right? Which should be doable. Like, I just don't want to have anything I'm snaking down and trying to run. But I think it's a really smart idea, and I would guess at some point that'll probably almost be standard on some vehicles. So we'll have to see. But civil asset forfeiture, that's a good one, Coop. I've been learning more and more banks, especially my area, are getting rid of their safety deposit boxes. And not of just saying like that's kind of a thing of the past. Like people aren't using these anymore. And I also think people aren't using them, one, because you have to pay, right, to have a box. And then if you have some things in it, some precious metals or jewelry or whatever, there have been these government uh, seizing of assets, and then they don't really have to give you a reason, and then they just take it. You have to go to court to try to get it back, and they'll be like, you had $40,000 worth of jewelry. Well, it's inherited jewelry and all of that, and they make you try to use to defend. Like Leto's law, he talks about that stuff where you're driving somewhere and you got $2,000 cash in your car, maybe on vacation, and or it's on you, and you get pulled over, and someone's like, well, the officer's like, this is drug money, right? Because you got $2,000 cash. Well, it's like, well, I'm on vacation, right? I'm going to um, a lot of this is going to be maybe cash transaction, depending upon where you're going, or if you're going to be stopping at a casino and Red Wing on the way or whatever. But so you're like this, but it's those weird things like civil asset forfeiture. So, um, yeah. Well, Coop, when you do send to the wall art, would you send me the tracking number so I can uh, keep track of on its way out here? So then I also want to make sure that like I am around and ready when it arrives here. So because it's going to be cold, and it could be like kind of snowy and stuff like that too. And so then I can make sure it goes right into the house. Um, so yeah, yeah, you're right. So Jim, we're not. So yeah. So tomorrow will be citizens arrest, which I think is fascinating because it's on the books in most states. In my state, no one ever talks about it. Jury trials and what you really need to know, right? That's where legal man comes in, and then government overreach. And he also, I'm sure, he'll be really fired up because he was doing quite a bit of uh, talk about voting in some of his recent shows. I think I love his show, The Quash, and we'll have a link out to that too, to his official channel. Um, Quash, a really nice webpage. Like, if I ever had my webpage rebuilt, if I could find someone that would do that, I'd be like, go to this page and build mine so it looks just like his. Um, so yeah, Coop, whenever you do that, like, not that you have to pressure to like to get it, but when you actually do send it, yeah, I'd love to have the tracking. Um, so yeah, the Quash, it's a really, and then because he has the show. Well, it's an audio though, so I don't know how it would work for me. But then he has a show note, which is short. It's like 4 or 5 sentences. I do a blog post. I kind of like my blog post, but like my website needs to be changed because it's not that it's really outdated, but like I got the black background and white text underneath. That needs to be. I just need a different layout to that. But I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so I can't. I had someone build that for me, so I need someone who's like good and like I'm willing to pay somebody to just go in and like just redo the site. It's not that complicated of a site. It's not like a commerce site, but I don't, and I can do that. Like on GoDaddy, they allow you to like give us access to other people to come in and have all the function to do that because they know people have websites and don't build them. But anyway, if you know somebody, I need to do some. I need to find someone who can look at it and say, "Yeah, I'll go in and do an overhaul to your site." Uh, and the site gets to be a little more. Now that I'm doing consulting, the site gets hit on more, and it looks fine. It's professional, but it's not as modern as I'd like it to be. So um, I love watching the Russian dash cam videos. Ting ting. There's some awesome crashes. If you pull my DL record, you'll notice I'm guilty of some very bad driving. I'm not just a middle-aged guy complaining, Jim. So yeah. Um, yeah. Maybe so guys, tomorrow, if you think of it, because there's many of you and there's one of me, and I'll be facilitating the show, right? But put a question in there about dash cams, right? Because I think citizens arrest, right? Also saying like evidence, right? If I have a dash cam, um, and is there value in having that? Like, could there be a citizen's arrest of right if you see someone who's trying to kidnap somebody and you get out of your car and it's captured by the dash cam, right? Then also is having that is it a good idea to have this type of video or just like just for accident or whatever, and then what do you do with it? Like how do you so you've been in an accident, maybe that's the scenario we have. It wasn't your fault and the person um, you know fled from the scene or whatever it is, but you have the dash cam. Should you give that to the police, right? Or does it upload to another third party site that you have it? Does it do you give it to your attorney? Like, what do you do with that? Would there, be a situation? Because what if you were at fault and the dash cam, has captured you, right? Not saying then you shouldn't still be at fault, but what happens to that? Can the police, because the camera's inside your car, would it be an illegal search, right? where you'd say, I do not agree to the search, where they could come in and get the dash cam, right? If they didn't have any other suspected reason to come and search the vehicle. And then, right, what would you, because I think there's an interesting question there. Do you take that dash cam video and immediately give that to law enforcement? Or do you take that dash cam video and do you immediately, when you call your lawyer, right? Or if it's your insurance agent and say, I have this, like you have three scenarios there. And actually, I could put that up as a poll. W- One is you tell the officer and give them the dash cam. Two, you call your insurance company and tell them you have the dash cam video and that you're going to give it to them. Three, you call your attorney and say you have the dash cam video and you're going to give that to them. So one of these three things, you're not doing it to all three. Like, which one of these would you do? And just as a poll to see what people would do. Or like, four, I would do nothing unless asked. No, not three. I put three things in there. One, you can give it to the officer. Um, I think I would put maybe or then we could do another poll. If an officer asked you for your dash cam video, would you say yes, it's in the vehicle, right? Or would you say I don't consent to search of the vehicle and it's inside the vehicle? So you'd say no. Um, Man, I think that's great. So you guys remember this tomorrow, Jim, Bending Ballistics, because I think that's it. So Bending Ballistics, I'm kind of with you. Like, I think the attorney or else even like your insurance carrier, but um, I think a lot of people in the moment though, they would immediately boom, rip it off, hand it to the police officer. I think that would be the tendency for, and then suddenly you don't have this piece of evidence. And maybe it's one thing if it's also like backing up to some Dropbox or something like that. But what if it's just that device? Um, Vanessa, your legality of police using access to neighborhood doorbell cams. Yes, ask that tomorrow when we get into government overreach of using this doorbell mosaic thing. Come in and ask that question, because this is something a legal man talks about as government overreach, and that is a perfect question for that. Of saying, around me, there's a community that agreed to do this, and so I'm not sure how it played out, but it's about 40 miles from me, where people can just voluntarily link their door cams and the police can access them at any time. And they did it as what they're saying, crime prevention, and also for evidence for thefts of Amazon packages and whatever. But they create like this whole mosaic. Like there's like 200 people with door cams, which are all in this network, and then the police can access any of those door cams at any time. And forensically, what's kept of that. But I think that's an interesting thing where people kind of, you know, Vanessa saying video cams, they caught three criminals breaking into neighbors. So, yeah. So there's value, right? But then, yeah. So Jim is saying cheers. So, all right. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap things up, as I kind of wanted to do a primer for tomorrow. And also, this is a great show because I was like, I don't know if I was down today. I was kind of like, the election stuff was grinding. And I was like, I don't like this, but it's good. And then also, we got some really good kind of prep for tomorrow's show and how some of these questions can come out. Because I think what's going to happen for tomorrow, I think it's going to be an awesome show, but I think it's going to move fast. And I'm going to be facilitating, right? And I'm probably not going to think of these things, these scenarios, like Vanessa with, or like the thing with the cam in a car, right? Where we can actually do a poll and saying, give it to police. Yeah, the election stuff didn't put me in a good mood either, Coop. Yeah. I was Oh god. I was yeah, I'm just so not in a good mood for that. Um so I asked an interesting question too. And it was so around us, most of the school referendums passed, and the new school building stuff passed. But the new buildings don't have these advanced HVAC systems. Um, they, so some of these things like you would just kind of expect in construction of new buildings wasn't really a part of the new building. Um, Trying to design a building for social distancing or I don't know. I was just basically kind of like the building designs are very similar to like 2017, 18. Like there aren't more hand washing stations. So that was one thing I looked at like in building designs was have you put in extra hand washing stations? Because if you're building, it's not that big of a cost to do it up front. Um, and the fact was no, like there aren't extra hand washing, there aren't more sinks, there aren't more soap dispensers. So I'm like, well, okay, but why? Why wouldn't you do this, right? Um, so Coop said I go to the doc every month and they ask me if I'm depressed. I want to ask them if they know who the president is. Yeah. So I would say today, like what I wasn't depressed. I was just frustrated, and then the billions of dollars spent on ad campaigns and the fact that the way that the election right played out, nothing really changes. And so it's like, great. So now you just have to wait 2 more years for a presidential election to possibly get a change in things. And it's the same way in my state. So the way that the voting turned out. So basically it's just 2 years of little bit of ebb and flow and nothing really happening and nothing happening in a good direction. So um that's what was really like so okay, 2024, I guess. Do you have a hand washing area in your workshop? Can you wash your eyes out at the home and close to workshop? Important. Yep. I think most schools they do have those areas all built in. Yep. I was surprised there weren't more just hand washing stations being built or extra sinks into schools or the sinks that face into the hallway or I don't know. So basically, what I was making a point to a retired educator today on some referendums. I said the thing is right, nothing changed in building construction after the pandemic. Nothing changed. Um, and it's kind of weird. So we'll get Andrew. Andrew says we'll get him in 2024. The Andrew, that guy. So, um, so yeah. So I think so we got some great questions around. I think there is a terrific one of yeah you're driving in your car or on your motors. Well, I guess let's say a car. So you have to actually come inside. You're driving in your car, and you either you're involved in an accident. It's not clear how it was caused, who was caused, whatever. But then that camera, what you have three choices. So here's what our people did in the chat, and then yeah, I think it is going to be. Then we'll have the legal man and say, well, so legal man, this happened to you. Now you have it. So you're a lawyer, right? You're keeping this, right? Or are you sharing this with your um, or is there some situation where you're like, it's best not to even have this, right? It's best not to introduce this. So I don't know. So it's just gonna be a great one. All right. Well, everybody, I am going to John's saying most car cameras don't have resolution to even capture license plates. So interesting. So I didn't know that. I don't I so yeah, very good. So John, I hope you join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time. Um, that is going to be a great one. So Lincoln Log Cabin in Arkansas. Yep. So Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, tomorrow will be Christmas, outdoor Christmas decorating. It's just kind of weird. Although, like, it's going to be t-shirt weather, which is awesome. But because what are we are we'll have lights on probably tomorrow on the timers and stuff. We are 7 weeks, 8 weeks away from Christmas. Seven, seven, seven. I don't know. 7 weeks. 7 weeks. Yeah. God, I got to get Christmas gifts. So yeah, I got put some time into that. So John, you kind of caught us at the end here, but John, tomorrow, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time, I have a guest, the legal man, and that show's already up. So if you go on the channel, you can read the description. He's going to talk about citizens arrest, jury trials, and then also government overreach. He has the channel, The Quash, a big following on social media. So be a great show, buddy. Um, so to get some rest, brother. Great hanging out as always. Yeah, I appreciate all of you. Uh, thanks, Coop, Vanessa, Ting Ting. Are you going live cam Christmas Day? Yeah, I'm probably yeah. No, actually, I won't be on the roof. Thank God. I was reading this thing too of like when you get to be 50, like you if y- your balance starts to diminish, which I kind of knew, like older people, right? And having um, worked in nursing rehab for a while and stuff, but there's a diff if you close your eye and you're standing on one leg, like how many seconds you can do, it's a good measure of kind of where you're progressing in kind of your age and lesser rounds. By the way, like yesterday when I voted, there was a lady in front of me and she was like all dressed in kind of like hiking stuff and she's an older lady and like she had a hat on with the sunglasses, but it was hiking apparel. And then I said, "Oh, like, are you going out like hiking?" And she's like, "Yeah, I am." After this, and then she said, "I just had a birthday." I said, "So did I. I'm like 51." And I said, "How old are you?" And she said, 92. And I'm like, "Holy smokes!" And I'm like, I said, "You are like very, very fit and stuff." And she said, "Yeah. The only thing is like your balance as you get older isn't as good. So you got to like keep practicing your balance, especially like when you're hiking and stuff and you're like on uneven trails." So even when she was in line, like she was kind of like doing like 1 foot. And, but I mean, 92 and like, God, if she wouldn't have told you that, you would have maybe thought she's 70, maybe like a very fit 70-year old. I mean, I was like, yeah, she was like ready to go when it was early morning. She's like, "I'm out of here." So, um, but yeah, it is. That's when I go out biking. I always said it's a really good test of balance. And then I think it's close both eyes and lift your and stand on one leg. How many seconds you can do that? There's actually a chart that shows once you get to be age 50, it decreases. But there are ways you can practice that in to, kind of keep that pretty stable. But if you don't practice it, um, you start to lose that ability because they're like when you're like 16, right? You can stand on one leg for like 5 minutes, and but as you get older, it's the whole proprioception and the gyroscopic ability, which is what your um, brainstem area is. And again, it's kind of a natural thing, and it can be remedied by practicing it. But they're just be aware of it because they're like that's why older people sometimes lose their balance when they're walking around a curb, and normally they wouldn't. And it's just one of those things that is kind of age related. So, um, but anyway, this lady, because she was doing that, she would because we had to be in line a little bit, and then she would like kind of do one, then one, and she's like, but that was one of her things, just right off the bat. Really nice, sweet lady. Like, and I was like, my God, like you're 92 and you're going into a lot of trails by us and stuff like that. And but she's like, yep, the balance. It's just you gotta be aware of your balance. And I think she said she uses like those hiking sticks too. We didn't have like a real long conversation, but we were in line for a little while. So, but yeah, cool. Always cool. I'm like, yeah, I just turned 51. And she's like, I just turned 92. I'm like, 92? Wow. Like, good for you. So, um, Wow, Vanessa, heart attack, you never knew it. Oh my goodness. So, wow. All right. Well, everybody, I am going to get going. So, thank you for supporting the channel. Thanks for letting me know that the ads work. That the so it's been appropriately monetized, and then we've got a great one on deck for tomorrow. So I'm really excited for that. So until then, um, I don't have any special. I can't do the special plane thing going out for you guys, but thanks a ton. Um, and yeah, have a great night. I'll be out doing Christmas decorations. It's gonna be nice and warm until it gets stormy and crazy. So I'm just glad it's not a garbage day because our recycling garbage is heavy because we have cat litter, stuff like that, bags. Once we clean out the boxes, so it weighs things down. But like recycling on a windy day, it's a real dicey thing because the recycling containers tend to move around, especially the top of the hill. It can be a real mess, but we're good. So be good and much love, Ting Ting. Um, and Traveling Fools right at the end here. Traveling Fools is in here. I'm sorry, didn't see you guys. So, but I was thinking about you today, Johnny. It's 7 p.m. Central Time. Yeah, Traveling Fools. I've been thinking about you, and I'm going to email you guys and I to come up with a time again. We are going to do a show called Traveling Safety: Volcano Eruptions, Arrest and Interruptions with Traveling Fools. So yeah, I can't wait to get you guys on. I've built the folder for that show. So I will be getting a hold of you, um, and we'll be putting that one together. Hopefully, like in December, if it works for you guys, and that'll be fun. You guys are a blast. So Traveling Fools. So much love to everybody, and I am the Safety Doc, and I am out of here. Take care, everybody. Shh. Shh.